Genesia stands in a circle of magical symbols, a dim light spilling across the floor. Traces of blood and black stains around her indicate the ritual's failure. Alchemical flasks and papers are scattered across the table, and tension hangs in the air. Genesia coughs, feeling weak. She was late again. The girl's pale face expresses despair. The handkerchief in her hand is stained with blood. Deep shame and the pain of knowing she's letting Xavier down torment her. Xavier asks Genesia to find a way to turn back time. His voice is full of determination, as this is the prince's only chance to change everything. As if echoing his plea, Xavier explains that he must return to the past for the throne, because his father dreamed of this moment his entire life. He looks at her, calling her the most powerful mage in the kingdom. Xavier believes that only she can accomplish the impossible. Genesia squeezes his hand, tormented by doubt. She knows no one has ever managed to turn back time, and yet he still hopes for her. The prince gently places his hand on her shoulder. His plea is quiet but desperate. It's as if he's clinging to his last hope, waiting for her answer. There's a bitter loneliness in his voice. Xavier speaks of those at court who hate him. Even when he smiles, he doesn't hide his pain. The image of the emperor appears before her eyes. A formidable ruler whose expectations weigh heavily on Xavier. Genesia realizes that their fate hangs in the balance. The king recognized the bastard as a member of the royal family, but left no heir. The princes began to fight for the throne, upsetting the fragile order. Xavier, the very bastard and fiancé of Genesia, found himself drawn into this merciless palace conflict, where every step has consequences. He needed Genesia's help to ascend the throne. But the girl who had no desire for power saw this as a waste of both her energy and herself. But watching Xavier suffer for his own family was unbearable. Her heart filled with pain and determination. Genesia attracted the attention of the court whispers about her family, and the illness that had afflicted all her loved ones continued unabated. She remained a target for everyone's gaze. Everything changed when Xavier addressed her directly, asking for help. His voice and gaze awakened something profound within her. Xavier promised that their union would mean a quick wedding, and their future would mean the ability to cope with threats and diseases. But the actions in time had exhausted Genesia. She grew weak, feeling her strength fading, until the blood reminded her of the danger of her gifts. Despite this hope never left her, Genesia believed that if everything worked out this time, she and Xavier would find a way to save everyone. Lisbel was alarmed when she learned of her condition. She couldn't understand why Genesia continued to work despite her deteriorating health. Genesia meets Lisbel in a cold place and tries to dissuade her from staying there, suggesting they go have some hot tea, worrying about her health. Lisbel notices the book in Genesia's hands and asks about the progress of the spell that will alter time. Genesia, embarrassed, replies that she hasn't finished the work yet. Genesia admits she continues her research. Despite the difficulties, Lisbel consoles her, reminding her that she is a renowned and respected mage of Gronya, and should not despair. Lisbel shares her feelings, saying she's always admired Genesia as a role model. Her words surprise Genesia, but they touch her deeply. Lisbel reminds them of how inseparable they were since their academy days, and insists that Genesia must acknowledge her accomplishments and status, despite her doubts. She continues to insist that the nobles who once looked down on Genesia now envy her. Genesia sheepishly tries to downplay her accomplishments. Lisbel places her cup on the table with a smile and says goodbye, deciding to leave. Genesia watches her friend, still thinking about her words and her situation. Genesia notes that Lisbel has a familiar scent that brings back pleasant memories and wonders about the origin of the smell. An embarrassed Lisbel admits to wearing perfume, a little worried that the scent would be too noticeable. Genesia, however, recognized it immediately. A shocked Genesia realizes that the scent is dried roses. Her reaction reflects surprise and the awakening of deep emotions associated with this scent. Xavier congratulates Genesia on her birthday and gives her a perfume created especially for her. The prince's gesture warms her heart, but leaves her perplexed. Genesia recalls Xavier's words about this perfume being reserved for royalty. She begins to worry and clutches the book tightly. Lisbel happily admits that this perfume is her favorite. She's sure Genesia will like it too, oblivious to her apprehension. Genesia tries to hide her emotions with a forced smile. She justifies herself by saying that the perfume is sold elsewhere, but she feels an inner discomfort. Lisbel enthusiastically embraces Genesia, delighted by their shared preferences. Genesia holds the book, feeling the heavy responsibility that lies upon her. Lisbel, waving cheerfully, advises Genesia to rest. Genesia is left alone, lost in her thoughts, feeling the tension grow. The scent of roses reminds Genesia of Xavier, his support and words. She recalls his bright image, which inspires her to overcome all difficulties. Lisbel speaks with delight of Genesia's attempt to turn back time. Her genuine admiration sounds too light for the complex situation. Genesia understands that without Xavier and Lisbel's support, she would have a hard time coping. Their faith in her motivates her to meet expectations. Full of determination, Genesia takes notes and is confident that this time her theory will work. She rushes to test her guesses, hoping for success. Genesia notices a strange light in her lab and anxiously goes to check. She looks tense and worried. Her gaze falls on Lisbel and Prince Xavier, who are prowling around the lab trying to steal important research notes. Lisbel hurriedly stuffed the scrolls and test tubes into her bag. Oblivious to her surroundings, Xavier watched indifferently, making cynical remarks. Genesia sadly thinks about how much the loss of her notes will upset her. She realizes she has little time and feels deep self-pity. Xavier suddenly teases Lisbel, hugging her. She laughs, trying to brush off his advances, but the room is tense. Lisbel, smiling playfully, declares that she managed to apply Genesia's perfume while she was sleeping. She coquettishly asks if the scent suits her. The prince, smiling approvingly, agrees that the scent suits Lisbel better than anyone else. This statement infuriates Genesia. Genesia suddenly appears in the room, shocked by what's happening. She demands an explanation, catching Lisbel and Xavier off guard. She rebukes them for stealing her research and condemns their animal-like behavior. Her rage is barely contained, and her voice trembles with emotion. Xavier, with cold irony, replies that Genesia, incapable of inventing a single spell, shouldn't be rude. He urges her to feel shame for her weakness. Genesia, her eyes blazing and her voice trembling, accuses those who betrayed her trust. Her despair turns to anger, clouding her judgment. With unbearable pain, she vows never to forgive those who have wronged her. Her gaze blazes with hatred, reflecting the dark emotions boiling within. Meanwhile, Xavier is holding Lisbel tightly, trying to drag her away. Panic overtakes them, and tension reaches its breaking point. Lisbel, distraught, asks them to wait, but Xavier firmly insists on leaving. Their fear is only heightened by the vague danger looming over them. Genesia, covered in blood and tears, pronounces Lisbel's name with frightening calm. Her face is disfigured by pain and determination to see this through. Seeing the book lying on the table, Genesia reaches for it. Understanding its importance, a vision of Lisbel, the traitor, and the cause of her torment flickers in her eyes. Lisbel, with a devilish smile and madness in her eyes, takes the book she calls Genesia, her best friend, mocking her trust. Lisbel's footsteps fill the room, and behind her, a fire rages. The flames symbolize the destruction left behind by betrayal. Genesia reaches out with her last strength, trying to save herself. Her consciousness clings to life while the fire surrounds her on all sides. Blood drips onto the floor, and Genesia, gasping for breath, gathers the last of her magic. Her desperate thought is to survive at any cost to fulfill her vengeance. Genesia, wounded and exhausted, tries with all her might to change the course of time, releasing powerful magical currents and hoping to save herself. She recalls her cursed birth, the illegitimate child of Count Dembreche. Her birth marked the beginning of endless suffering. Her mother hated her very existence. In despair, she repeatedly repeated that it would have been better if Genesia had never been born, imprinting herself on her childish mind. The mother heaped all her failures and bitterness on her daughter, shying neither with words nor blows. Her hatred was cruel and merciless. Threats haunted the girl. They told her that she would remain unloved, used, and rejected, just like her mother once did, leaving the girl in tears. But disaster soon befell their family. A terrible disease killed everyone except Genesia. The house burned, and she remained a lonely witness to the catastrophe. As the sole survivor, she involuntarily inherited the title of countess. This new status came with the heavy burden of the past. Genesia wakes suddenly torn from her troubled dreams. Her body is shaking, and her mind is still filled with images from her childhood. Lance, her devoted butler, stands before her. He's concerned about her condition and reminds her that she's once again neglected to rest due to her exhausting work. He looks at her with sympathy and gently reminds her that health is most important. Genesia silently looks ahead, trying to gather strength for the next chapter of her life. Genesia suddenly realizes the significance of the current date and in a panic asks Lance what the date is. She looks worried and confused. Lance, surprised by the girl's behavior, reports that today is May 3rd, 651, according to the imperial calendar. He wonders what's going on with her. Genesia is overwhelmed by memories. Exactly 1 month remains until her engagement to Xavier. The image of betrothed hands and a blue rose intensifies her inner anxiety and despair. She looks at her hand, realizing she's used time magic. A moment of doubt crosses her mind. She wasn't sure the spell would work as intended. However, Genesia is determined. She's proud that she was able to create a time-bending spell to change her destiny despite the risk. Genesia's laboratory remained untouched, and her notes were safe. She breathed a sigh of relief, but anxiety lingered in her thoughts. Suddenly, Lisbel and Xavier's betrayal, their cold gazes, and the treachery that led to her death came flooding back. Anger boiled within her. Genesia went out into the garden, hoping for silence. As she recalled what had happened, she felt the pain and hatred suffocating her even more. Suddenly, a familiar voice interrupts her calm. Xavier appears, confidently approaching her. Genesia clenches her fist, her gaze filled with tension. The prince acts casually, as if nothing has happened. His greeting only serves to further irritate and anger Genesia. Xavier tries to touch her, but Genesia pulls his hand away. Inside, she can barely contain herself from screaming, her hatred growing with every second. He smiles and tells her he's got a dress for her, but Genesia refuses, offering a cold "thank you." Xavier doesn't understand her behavior. The prince is perplexed by Genesia's abruptness. She's usually quieter and calmer, but now her words and gestures are filled with hidden anger. Genesia silently clenches her teeth, remembering how he and Lisbel betrayed her. Anger and pain overwhelm her, but she refuses to let them out. Lance's appearance interrupts their conversation. The butler draws their attention, giving Genesia the opportunity to step back and collect her thoughts. Lance informs Xavier that Lady Genesia has been up all night, working on her research, without a wink of sleep. He seems concerned about her condition. Xavier, not hiding his irritation, expresses his displeasure in his thoughts, but he still smiles. Genesia, standing between Lance and Xavier, locks their gazes. The air grows tense, and both men look ready for another confrontation. Xavier, raising his hand in a threatening gesture, promises to punish Lance on behalf of his mistress, appearing arrogant and self-confident. However, Genesia interrupts him with a sharp movement. She steps between them, defending Lance and chiding Xavier for his insolence. Her confident gaze and firm words make Xavier freeze. Genesia makes it clear that any threat to her people is a threat to her as well. Xavier, stunned by her determination, is speechless and retreats. Genesia, however, remains calm and unwavering before him. She says she's tired and doesn't intend to waste her energy on further argument. Genesia is confident that Xavier will be able to find his way back on his own. Watching Genesia leave, Lisbel mockingly notes how much she's changed. She used to bend over backwards to please the prince. In a conversation with Lance, Genesia confirms her intentions to sever all ties with the fourth prince. She no longer wants anything to do with him. Genesia ponders what Lance might ask about her decision and how to explain to her why she is turning down a certain person. Lance calmly responds that he understands her wish and places a cup of tea in front of her. Tension hangs in the air, and the background is filled with delicate floral motifs. Looking seriously at Genesia, Lance reminds her of her duty to remain vigilant as the head of the Lembrish family. Lance asks if she has any other thoughts. Meanwhile, a ridiculous image of a man demanding her hand surfaces in Genesia's mind. Genesia considers matchmaking proposals from noble families, but her firm answer is clear. She is not what they need. Looking into her tea, Genesia realizes that the power coursing through her veins elevates her beyond mere marriage proposals. She hopes for the king's support. Genesia realizes she needs a compelling reason to reject one of the candidates. Lance curiously asks if she has a solution. Only one person comes to Genesia's mind, the one who recently made a splash in high society, and she voices her guess. This man's name is Prince Callion, the second prince of Giron. His image appears against a background of dark, rich red hues. It is said that after the break in the engagement, Callion was pleased with the outcome, although the news caused discord within the royal family. Genesia understands that the tensions within the royal family have deep roots. She hopes her intentions will be understood and supported. Having set a goal, Genesia decides to act decisively, making a fateful decision without hesitating for a moment. With a confident smile, she prepares to meet with the second prince, Callion, who could become a key figure in her plan. Meanwhile, Callion encounters the mercenary who tried to kill him. His gaze is threatening, and his blade is pointed at the stranger. Callion warns his enemy that his patience is wearing thin, demanding the truth about who is behind the assassination attempt. His red eyes blaze with rage. In the luxurious hall, Cedric spots Genesia, and attracting her attention, hurries toward her. The atmosphere around him is buzzing and shimmering with light. Cedric raises the issue of the magical impulse discussed earlier, seeking details that he hopes will provide an explanation. With a smile and interest, he invites Genesia to write down everything she knows, holding notes and a pen in his hands, ready to record the information. Genesia, without losing her composure, assures him that she's ready to discuss the matter. However, a shadow of doubt and tension flickers in her eyes. Cedric's confidence causes Genesia a moment of confusion, which she carefully conceals. Her inner fear only breaks through in a brief silence. Genesia, with her cold demeanor, meets Lisbel, who sparkles with a smile, and is confident. Lisbel sarcastically hints at Genesia's unattainable ideals. Cedric and Lisbel are engaged in a lively conversation praising Genesia's reputation. Her kindness and honesty have been known since her student years. Lisbel, with her bright eyes shining, highlights Genesia's magical talents, as if adding another layer of admiration to her image. Lisbel smiles sweetly, looking straight into Genesia's eyes, and confidently waits for her confirmation, creating the illusion of a perfect friendship. Suddenly, a dark memory pierces Genesia's consciousness. Her mother, distraught, curses her daughter with the words that no one will ever love her. From the moment she was born, terrible rumors swirled around Genesia. She was called a witch, accused of cursing her family in order to seize power. Loneliness became an inevitable shadow in her life. Everyone laughed at her, despised her, and avoided her, while Genesia remained silent and distant. In a dim world of rejection, the only hand outstretched was Lisbel. Genesia believed she had found salvation in her friendly sincerity. But suddenly, the truth shatters this illusion. Genesia realizes her feelings have been deceived. Lisbel is not as pure as she first appeared. On the brink of despair, Genesia sees Lisbel in a terrible form. A malicious smile and a book in her hands reveal the terrible truth about her insidious plans. Genesia snatches the papers from Lisbel, surprising her. Lisbel clearly wasn't expecting such a drastic action and tries to say something. Lisbel smiles and asks Genesia to help with the lecture, hinting that she'll definitely have a free minute. Her confidence irritates her. Genesia, remaining calm, pushes the papers aside and explains that she is busy preparing for Lord Cedric. She demonstrates her reluctance to help. Cedric unexpectedly supports Lisbel and agrees to her proposal. Genesia is already mentally rejecting the request, but the situation is spiraling out of her control. Genesia learns that the lecture is intended for the second prince. A moment of worry flashes in her eyes, but she remains composed and conceals her emotions. Cedric assures Genesia that he'll organize everything himself, and she won't have to lift a finger. Lisbel watches with a sly smile, knowing Genesia will agree. Lisbel happily declares that Genesia is incredibly kind and willing to help. Genesia silently clenches her fist, harboring irritation. Having gathered herself, Genesia decisively declares that it's time for her to leave. She reminds everyone of her chores and demonstratively holds up her notepad to emphasize her busyness. Genesia frantically thinks about the time she's lost, annoyed at the thought of being late. She hopes the second prince hasn't left yet and rushes forward. Finally, Lisbel finds Prince Xavier and calls out to him with a smile. The prince turns around with mild surprise, clearly delighted to see her. Lisbel carefully returns the handkerchief, delicately embroidered with a blue flower. Her gesture arouses curiosity, and the prince involuntarily asks if she did the embroidery herself. Lisbel, embarrassed, covers her mouth with her hand, realizing she's taken liberties with the prince. Her blush only emphasizes the sudden awkwardness of the moment. Xavier smiles, admiring the scarf. He admits the flower reminded him of his mother, and musingly suggests that perhaps fate brought them together on this day. Their eyes meet. Xavier asks Lisbel for a moment to talk, and she agrees, smiling with slight embarrassment but complete trust. In the distance, a surprised voice disturbs the peace of the garden. A servant or courtier cannot believe their ears, trying to understand what Lisbel has done in the presence of His Highness. Xavier runs a hand over his face, a little dejected by the situation. He thinks he looks like a clumsy half-prince, rejected by Lisbel with her cold demeanor. Lisbel, shocked, stares at the prince silently, her hand covering her mouth. A sense of certainty grows within her. Her suspicions were correct, and what's happening only confirms it. She squeezes his hand, a slight smile appearing on her face. A hint of condemnation flashes through Lisbel's mind. Janisha is someone who has absolutely no sense of social graces. Lisbel recalls how she always disliked Janisia's boasts about her relationship with Prince Xavier. A memory of the gift he supposedly gave her resurfaces. Janisia stands smiling smugly, remembering this gift. She's sure the prince really likes her, and she relishes this illusion bathed in golden light. Lisbel, her eyes filled with tears, is outraged by the injustice that someone close to her has faced. She doesn't understand how anyone can respond with ingratitude to the kindness shown to someone. Her pride and determination are evident in her words, saying that if she were in this person's shoes, she would never allow herself to behave like this. Her hand touches her interlocutor's shoulder with regret. Then, a man with golden hair appears before her. He smiles mysteriously and looks at Lisbel, asking what she would really do, provoking her to confess. Lisbel is embarrassed, but her gaze is full of determination. For this man, for his favor, she is ready to do anything. Her voice rings with sincerity and devotion. Later in the Winter Palace, Cedric the Wizard is explaining something to Janisha at the blackboard, offering advice. The atmosphere is tense, as if they are preparing for something important and decisive. But suddenly, the second prince is mentioned, and Cedric's words take on an ominous tone. A frightening image appears before them. A dark-haired man with a red gaze that sends shivers down everyone's spine. Janisia and Cedric discuss the legendary swordsman who defeated monsters without casualties. This evokes surprise and admiration in Janisia. Like a figure from a bloody myth, Kalian returns from the battlefield without a single scar. He is called a devil incarnate for his invulnerability and power. Janisia learns that the court knights revere Kalian as a great swordsman. She concludes that he is incredibly skilled and dangerous. Cedric introduces Kalian as the second prince of Giron. Janisia senses the tension and watches the dangerous man's appearance closely. Two knights enter the room and bow before Kalian. The atmosphere grows even more tense, and Janisia realizes the gravity of the moment. Cedric introduces himself and Janisia to the prince. She remains calm and states her name, hiding her nervousness before the powerful man. Kalian stares at Janisia with his scarlet eyes. She understands that he is a difficult target, and she feels as if she is under a microscope. The prince reflects on the countless assassination attempts and admits he's unsure when they'll end. His gaze is full of weariness and determination. Cedric explains that earth magic is the most difficult to control. Only 9 wizards in the world possess such abilities. Janisia turns out to be one of the 9 wizards who commands admiration and respect. Her power is emphasized by the presence of magical flowers around her. Janisia winks and smiles, hinting at something important to Kalian, but he looks at her with bewilderment, not understanding her intentions. Realizing the situation is tense, Kalian offers to end the conversation, stating that he will inform the king of the meeting despite its strange nature. Kalian heads towards the exit with a confident gait and asks Janisia to follow him, as if wanting to continue the conversation in a more private place. Genesia follows him, surprised by the ease with which she was able to move forward with her plan, although everything seemed much more complicated at first glance. Finding himself in another room, Kalyan points with displeasure at the note Genesia received. He's confused and unsure how to proceed with her proposal. Kalyan, not hiding, his irritation demands an explanation as to why Genesia wrote such a daring note touching on the dangerous topic of assassination attempts on him. Genesia explains her plan. She proposes a deal while nervously admitting that without her glasses, she has a hard time understanding what is happening. Kalyan, taking her glasses in his hands, repeats her words. He still doesn't believe that Genesia is seriously considering proposing such a deal. Genesia clarifies the terms. She offers protection from assassination attempts in exchange for cooperation, surprising the prince with her direct and unusual approach. Finally, she voices the main part of the deal. Genesia offers Kalyan to pretend that they are having an affair, thereby providing himself with protection and support. Kalyan, the second prince, stands before Genesia, perplexed as to why he was her choice. He doesn't understand what it was about him that caught her attention. Genesia confidently declares him the ideal candidate, cold-blooded, intelligent, and ruthless. These are the qualities she needed to achieve her goal. Clenching her fist, she declares that she has no interest in love or marriage. She doesn't want anyone to use her magic and prefers independence. Kalyan listens attentively to her confession. She says her only goal is to dedicate her life to the study of magic and nothing more. Genesia explains that her request is simple: a year of his protection. She asks for nothing more. She's confident it's a fair offer. Kalyan turns around and asks the logical question: how does she intend to prevent future assassination attempts on him? The answer is still unclear to him. Genesia calmly replies that she can predict dangers using magic. Kalyan admits he's thought about it too, but hasn't received a clear answer. Genesia says he simply didn't ask her advice before a dark memory surfaced of the second prince losing his arm in an explosion. After numerous assassination attempts, he turned to the Ministry of Magic, where they created a protective device for him. The number of attacks reached 167. Now, Genesia is confident that everything will be different. She herself created a magical object capable of protecting him. Determination is evident in her words and her gaze. Genesia hands over a mysterious artifact, a ring, accompanying her words with a warning that it will glow scarlet when danger approaches. Smiling with genuine hope, Genesia assures those present that their trust in her will cost nothing but may give her a chance to prove her worth. Kalyan's supporters in scarlet robes are wary. One of them expresses doubt about Genesia's proposal, calling it dubious and requiring caution. The man in the foreground is adamant that wizards cannot be trusted, assuring Kalyan that they will betray him at the first opportunity they get. Kalyan, however, doesn't refuse. He demands his men keep a close eye on Genesia, while he holds the ring as if weighing the risk of her offer. At this point, Kalyan notices something in her eyes: a complete lack of fear. Instead, her gaze is filled with an unwavering determination that impresses him. He senses something familiar and mysterious about Genesia. Her silhouette is surrounded by a mystical aura, which evokes a strange sense of déjà vu. Kalyan decides to take the risk, calmly informing his subordinates that he sees no reason to refuse. For him, it's a gamble with nothing to lose. Genesia sighed with relief, noting to herself that Kalyan was far less intimidating than she expected. Unlike the others, he heard her. At that moment, Lisbel bursts in, clearly agitated, calling out for Genesia. Her appearance suddenly draws the attention of everyone in the room. Genesia runs into Lisbel and Cedric, who question her about her meeting with Prince Xavier. Worried, they hope he didn't offend her. Cedric insists he ran into Xavier and Lisbel by chance and was worried about Genesia. With a sincere smile, he's glad she's okay after their encounter. Guests gather in a magnificent garden, where Xavier proudly reveals that he uses magic to keep blue roses blooming year-round, much to everyone's delight. Xavier, having anticipated Cedric's interest as a wizard, flippantly states that money is of no importance to him, making him seem even more mysterious. However, despite his confidence, it becomes clear that Xavier is spending all his resources on the palace, neglecting the estate, which leads to financial difficulties. Behind the glitter and charm lies a simple truth. Prince Xavier, although he shines on the outside, turns out to be quite superficial and reckless. Janicia notices at the table that Xavier can't even pay his servants on time, which makes her wonder about his true situation. Lisbel, on the other hand, admires the palace, and the prince, noticing that he speaks not only of luxury, but also of Janicia herself, increasing the awkwardness. Xavier jokingly mentions Janicia's relationship luck, which makes her feel embarrassed, but tries to maintain her composure in response. Cedric watches Lisbel, who envies Janicia, and dreams of meeting someone like a prince. This adds a touch of tension between the characters. Cedric, standing with a folder in his hands, suddenly remembered an urgent matter and apologized, leaving the others tense. Lisbel turned her gaze to Janicia. Xavier mentioned rumors that Janicia possessed a rare gift of mastering all the elements. He mentioned that she was the star of the academy and amazed everyone. The prince continued explaining that he knew all about Janicia's student years. She was absorbed in magic and had no interest in anything else. Lisbel added that Janicia's peers envied her and avoided her as if she didn't exist. The girl was always alone. Lisbel remembered how they once became friends, despite the fact that those around them condemned their friendship and called Janicia a witch. These memories brought tears to Lisbel's eyes. She admitted that Janicia had always been lonely, and this had deeply hurt hers. With an icy gaze and a tense voice, Janicia declared that she would not tolerate further insults. She was certain she was acting for their common good. Now, Janicia was determined to fight injustice and not remain silent about what she had endured for so long. Her violet eyes shone with determination. Xavier and Lisbel recalled how they had always supported Janicia in her scientific experiments, despite her aloofness and fear of change. Janicia was always surrounded by friends, but she refused to ask them for help. Strong and proud, she chose solitude, even though she could count on support. Janicia, with a satisfied expression, emphasizes her unique role in assisting Lisbel at the academy, placing herself in the spotlight. She sips her tea gracefully, savoring the moment. Lisbel grins in response, remembering that some of her classmates saw something different in her company with Janicia. She tries to hide her slight embarrassment with a forced smile. Janicia continues confidently, reminding Lisbel of the two guys who were in her life at the same time. She looks at Lisbel with a hint of irony, never missing a chance to tease her. Lisbel's eyes widen in shock when Janicia reveals her secret. Lisbel's face fills with worry, and memories of that period flood her mind. Leaping from the table, Lisbel categorically denies the accusation, exclaiming that it's not true. However, her panicked reaction speaks for itself, confusing those around her. Lisbel nervously tries to explain the situation, but her words sound unconvincing. Her face flushes, and her smile looks strained, as if she's about to lose her composure. Xavier watches in amazement, while Lisbel barely suppresses a shudder. The thought of how she could have blurted out such a thing in front of the prince overwhelms her. Janicia, with a feigned apologetic smile, declares that she probably just got it all mixed up. She watches with amusement the commotion her words have caused. The situation takes an absurd turn when Janicia and Xavier, smiling, suggest changing the subject and taking a stroll in the garden. Lisbel remains dejected, feeling powerless. Finally, Lisbel, seething with rage, mentally curses Janicia. She is indignant at her arrogant behavior, which puts her in an awkward position in front of the prince. Lisbel reminds Janicia of her place with a cold smile, deliberately evoking fear and anxiety. The atmosphere thickens with the threat of inevitable consequences. Janicia tries to escape, but Lisbel catches up with her, with the clear intention of demonstrating superiority, which leaves the fugitive feeling cornered. The assembled students clash. Defending Lisbel, Janicia is blamed for the incident, demanding an immediate apology and signs of submission. Janicia is crushed under the weight of the accusations. They publicly humiliate her, bringing up events from her past that make her look guilty before everyone. A trace of magical influence appears on her hand, the result of warnings she ignored. But instead of sympathy, her words are perceived as justifications. Lisbel intervenes as if defending Janicia, assuring those around her that what happened was an accident. However, her tone contains a hidden subtext. The moment Lisbel feigns touching Janicia's shoulder, Janicia clutches the fabric of her robe, losing her patience. A look of despair and rage flashes across her face. The conflict reaches its climax. Lisbel continues to press, and Genesia decisively challenges, anticipating further revenge for her disobedience. Placing her hand on the glowing rune, Genesia senses a magical force. Understanding its nature becomes her last chance to turn the tide in her favor. Lisbel discovers a magical rune in the garden and freezes in surprise. Suddenly, she seems to disturb the order, unsure of what's happening around her. Xavier angrily notices the ruined roses and panics, exclaiming that they are his favorite flowers. Shocking Lisbel with his reaction, Lisbel tries to justify herself to the prince, explaining in a trembling voice that she didn't mean to ruin anything. She's clearly frightened and embarrassed by the situation. Genesia intervenes, turning to Xavier and urging him not to put too much pressure on Lisbel. She's certain the girl didn't do it on purpose. Genesia smiles and reassures Lisbel, instilling confidence with her calm gaze and soft voice. Lisbel relaxes slightly. In the garden among the red roses, the three continue their conversation. Xavier softens a little, and Genesia, confident in her words, supports Lisbel. Lisbel convinces herself that everything can be bought or fixed. Her determination is reflected in the serious, intense look in her eyes. Xavier, on the other hand, looks displeased and clenches his fist, pondering Genesia's words. He maintains a tense, silent expression, not revealing his true thoughts. Genesia continues to smile confidently, declaring that a solution will always be found. Her optimism lightens the mood somewhat. Later, Xavier, standing by the window, reminds Lisbel of her promise to do everything for him. His words sound reproachful, hinting at the situation's deterioration. Lisbel cries out to Xavier in desperation, trying to explain that a mistake has been made. She looks confused, and the prince listens with tension. Lisbel, in a panic, begs the prince to reconsider, her face pale with emotion. She desperately tries to make her point. With a mysterious smile, Genesia notes how easily the rune was erased. She hints at some secret and her suspicions. Xavier loses his temper, shouting that Lisbel couldn't have done such a thing. His rage and disbelief fill the room. Lisbel stands with her back to Xavier, lost in thought. She remembers how strange Genesia has been acting lately, as if she were a different person. Lisbel's words haunt Xavier. He begins to notice changes in Genesia's behavior, which makes him doubtful. Lisbel takes the prince by the hand and offers her help. She assures him that she will keep an eye on Genesia and let him know if she finds anything strange. Lisbel promises to take the investigation seriously. Her eyes full of determination, Xavier looks at her, a little surprised by her sincerity. Genesia appears in the hall, attracting attention with her cool confidence. The guests are perplexed as to how she managed to get into this meeting. Genesia raises her glass of wine, reflecting on her lost appetite. Her gaze glides around the room, hinting at further intrigue. Xavier admires Genesia's talent, and Laura Vallant, smiling, notes that the prince has a flair for gifted people, arousing his curiosity. Genesia Lembreche is introduced as the youngest of the family, but her bright aura and self-confidence immediately make her stand out from the rest of those present. In the world of magic, most wizards can only control one element, making their abilities quite limited. However, Genesia is a unique sorceress, capable of controlling all four elements at once, which causes surprise and admiration among those around her. Laura didn't even need magic stones to draw runes, and her work with a prosthetic for a friend demonstrates a high level of skill. Xavier is stunned by the fact that Genesia is a true star in the world of magic, and realizes how special and irreplaceable she is in this world. The king sets a strict condition for Xavier: return him to the past, otherwise he will not recognize the young man as his successor, increasing the drama of the situation. Xavier, hearing Genesia's name, decides that she is his only chance to find a way to turn back time and fulfill the king's order. With confidence in his voice, Xavier agrees to trust Genesia, seeing in her the hope of fulfilling his difficult task and changing his destiny. A firm handshake symbolizes the fragile trust between them. Xavier decides to take a risk, relying on Genesia's talent, although trust does not come easy to him. Genesia, full of confidence and satisfaction, rejoices at the perfectly executed magical act. She recalls how she prepared the rune in advance. She then lightheartedly announces that she plans to return to her lab. Her casual satisfaction leaves those around her confused. At the threshold of her laboratory, Genesia notices a mysterious figure in a blue cloak. She immediately becomes wary, unsure who it is or why they've come. Turning around, the stranger greets her with a questioning look. Genesia, keeping her cool, asks what he wants, not hiding her suspicions. The man, grinning confidently, declares that he's come to the right place. He makes a subtle gesture, as if he wants to show or say something. Seeing his face, Genesia is surprised to recognize a familiar face. Her eyes widen in surprise. Manuel stands before her, smiling and beaming. He greets her with enthusiasm, hinting at the long separation, as if they were old acquaintances. Still confused, Genesia continues the conversation, discovering that Manuel was sent by the second prince. She wonders why she's being followed. She recalls the proposal she made to the prince, to stage an affair for show. Apparently, this aroused suspicion, and Manuel was tasked with investigating her motives. Manuel, smiling, explains that, as a trusted mage, he is allowed to visit the ministry. He emphasizes that he is the only mage in the prince's entourage. Genesia, lost in thought, realized her words weren't immediately taken seriously. Her gaze betrayed her anxiety, but she tried to keep her composure. Manuel speaks to Genesia with a broad smile. He admits that he usually manages to remain unnoticed, but this time things were different. Manuel continues his story while enjoying his meal. He shares that he couldn't hide his suspicions and was forced to convey them to the prince. Kalian's gaze is stern and confident. He demands that Manuel report every detail of his interactions with Genesia, as she won't be deceived. Kalian's words motivate Manuel, and he sees this as a chance to prove himself. Genesia is surprised, but understands that her actions are now under close scrutiny. Genesia explains that she's working on restorative magic, delighting Manuel. He's surprised as no one has ever managed to create such a spell before. Continuing her thought, Genesia explains that this isn't just a restoration, but a return to the past. She recalls how she experienced this process herself. Manuel admires Genesia, recognizing her talent and inventiveness. Her ideas transcend conventional magic and seem incredible. Genesia speaks easily of her abilities, modestly asking him to put in a good word for her with the prince. Her words are filled with a confident ease. Manuel, watching Genesia, smiles with admiration. In his thoughts, she remains as brilliant and inimitable as ever. Genesia is amazed at how quickly Manuel has mastered the art thanks to Lord Windsor, who proudly displays his sword boasting of his lessons with the great Master Kalian. Manuel poses enthusiastically with his sword, emphasizing that his training with Kalian has made him an unparalleled master of swordsmanship, his confidence radiating. Genesia chuckles, noticing how much he respects his teacher. She compares Manuel to a devoted puppy, which brings a genuine smile to his face. In response to Genesia's teasing, Manuel firmly admits that he respects her as well. He seems sincere and slightly embarrassed, which surprises her. Reflecting, Genesia recalls how gloomy and withdrawn Manuel was at the academy, overshadowed by his older brother. His changes seem surprising to her. Now Manuel, brimming with vitality, jokes and rejoices. He suddenly asks if Genesia has considered using magic to improve her eyesight. Genesia, with a slight smile, replies that the glasses don't bother her. Manuel, however, admits he's always wanted to see her without them scratching his cheek childishly. Suddenly, Manuel declares he's very hungry and suggests a snack. Genesia agrees and offers to pay for the meal, much to his amusement. Appetizing dishes appear on the table, and Genesia encourages Manuel, advising him to gather strength for work. He thanks her, beaming with pleasure. Suddenly, Lisbel appears, calling out to Genesia excitedly. The atmosphere fills with light and warmth, and the trio gathers around the table, delighted to be reunited. Lisbel bursts into the room where Genesia is quietly eating, amazed at her independence. She's annoyed that she wasn't invited. Genesia tries to ignore him, but Lisbel, noticing Manuel's presence, is surprised by his appearance. She's clearly interested. Lisbel's gaze fills with excitement. She teases Genesia, talking about the fourth prince, as if expecting a reaction. Genesia remains cold. Genesia responds calmly and indifferently, showing she has no intention of falling for Lisbel's provocations. She continues eating. Lisbel is perplexed by Genesia's rude behavior. Her confidence is shaken, but she tries to maintain her composure. Manuel introduces himself, clarifying that he's now helping Genesia. His calm contrasts sharply with Lisbel's emotionality. Lisbel instantly perks up, declaring her noble birth. She decides to address Manuel informally as her junior. Manuel maintains his reserve, suggesting a formal approach, since they are both assistants. His tone hints at a reluctance to get closer. Lisbel smiles and mentions Manuel's older brother, Lord Lopez, known for his politeness. She hints that Manuel is inferior to him. Manuel admits that his brother is easier to reason with than him. His response is harsh but honest, which leaves Lisbel stumped. Lisbel is shocked by the news and suppresses her anger, her emotions breaking through her confident gaze. The atmosphere around her grows tense like thunder before a storm. Lisbel is seething with rage inside, struggling to maintain her composure, and feeling forced to be polite simply because of Manuel and his family's status. Hungry and tired, Lisbel notices the abundance of food on the table and feels indignant. She's irritated that someone has the audacity to enjoy their meal. Lisbel sarcastically points out to Genesia the possible consequences of overeating, trying to put herself in the best light and hide her own irritation. Genesia reacts calmly and pushes the salad plate forward. She's demonstratively setting an example of how it's better to watch your figure as she does. With a grin, Lisbel explains that the salad was set aside for herself, but she is still generously willing to share with her friend, trying not to lose face. Manuel, intervening coldly, expresses disappointment with Lisbel's behavior, declaring that he expected better from her family. He continues contemptuously, implying that the leftovers are for the slaves, only humiliating Lisbel in front of everyone present. His words cut like a knife. Lisbel falls silent, a shadow of humiliation filling her face. A harsh conclusion rings in her mind. She needs to learn how to behave in public to avoid disgrace. Manuel, looking confused, apologizes to Genesia for the sudden commotion. He's displeased with one of the guests' behavior toward the girl, and awkwardly fidgets with his sandwich, looking confused and worried. Manuel decides to ask Genesia the question that's been troubling him. Did she offer the second prince a deal because of his identity? She answers evasively, saying it could be taken that way, to which Manuel nods, trying to sort out his thoughts. He reflects on the fact that he can't be someone she would truly trust, and it hurts him. But despite this, he is determined to do everything in his power to support her. Clenching his fist in determination, Manuel assures Genesia that the second prince will contact her soon. He understands that he must ensure their deal goes through for her benefit and peace of mind. Against the night backdrop, someone is writing a report, confirming Genesia's intention to reject Kalyan's offer before he even makes it. Manuel stands in the distance, pondering the situation, while the conversation turns to a plan of action. Memories of the academy surface in Manuel's mind, where he recognized Genesia as a remarkable person, both inside and out. Her image is wreathed in flowers, and he smiles admiring her. A maid comes on stage, bringing wine, addressing the prince with respect. The atmosphere grows tense as she slowly rolls the table and watches the proceedings in the hall. Prince Kalyan notices the ring, which suddenly flashes red. Alarmed, he explains that this is a sign of danger, and his gaze becomes sharp, ready for action. The danger becomes clear. The maid reacts to the situation with a start. Clutching her weapon, she prepares to block the exit. Her eyes gleaming with determination to fulfill her duty. The situation escalates. Genesia finds herself at the center of a conspiracy, and Kalyan prepares to defend himself. The handmaiden has been exposed as a mercenary, and the outcome of the conflict now depends on decisive action by everyone present. Kalyan announces that their deal is complete, and his plans will soon be realized. His grin full of self-confidence and malicious intent. Genesia, bound and helpless, understands that he will not stop there. Lisbel is surrounded by admiring friends who call her an angel. She basks in attention and approval, but this superficial recognition conceals an impending conflict that will change her destiny. Genesia hands Lisbel the magical item she's long dreamed of. Lisbel is delighted and thanks her, her eyes shining with joy. However, Genesia's smile conceals more than just a gift. Lisbel is delighted with her find. The item has become a long-awaited gift. She beams with happiness, but casually mentions the new dresses in the store, which arouses curiosity and hints at a change in her interests. Janesia notices that Lisbel hasn't shown any interest in dresses, before her words sound both reproachful and questioning, evoking a sense of unease. There's something in her voice that makes Lisbel pause. Janesia takes Lisbel to the dresses she'd recently mentioned. However, Janesia notes that these dresses don't suit her. Their conversation is filled with an undercurrent of tension, as if something more were going on between them. Lisbel, with cold determination, realizes that Janesia is losing her influence. She believes she was the one who raised Janesia to prominence, but now she wants to prove otherwise. Her confidence takes on a tinge of cruelty. Dressed in a beautiful blue dress, Lisbel strides forward under the azure sky, her gait elegant and purposeful. She decides to act more forcefully than she initially planned, and her change of heart feels ominous. Her glittering shoes symbolize her determination to take back everything that belongs to Janesia. She is confident of victory, and her next target is not only Prince Xavier, but everything that has ever connected Janesia to success. With a dark smirk and a blazing gaze, Lisbel finally embraces her dark role. She vows to take absolutely everything Janesia has, her ambitions transcending simple envy and becoming something terrifying. Manuel sat in the room, gazing thoughtfully into the distance. Lisbel, happily talking, mentioned Manuel's strange silence since becoming an assistant. This caught Xavier's attention, and he wondered if it had anything to do with his feelings for Janesia. Xavier noticed something seemed to be going on between Manuel and Janesia. A thought flashed through his mind. What if Janesia decided to abandon her previous plans for another man? This idea clearly didn't appeal to him. However, a moment later, he dismissed his worries, laughing to himself. In his opinion, Manuel was just an ordinary aristocrat, and nowhere near the level of Xavier, a true representative of the royal family. Lisbel, surprised, asks again what Xavier just said. Smiling and not hiding her interest, Xavier, in response to her naive curiosity, agrees to explain everything again, as if playing off her surprise in a humorous tone. Later, Janesia excitedly discusses with Manuel the unexpected news. His Highness has agreed to an affair of convenience. She appears very excited and is genuinely happy that the visit will take place today. Manuel modestly insists that the credit goes to the ring Janesia presented. He's certain it was what caught the prince's eye. Janesia, beaming with joy, gratefully accepts the praise and smiles. Manuel and Janesia are standing in the library when they hear a knock on the door. They both turn around with a sense of foreboding, and Janesia confidently declares that it is the one they've been waiting for. Curiosity sparkles in her eyes. A voice behind the door confirms her suspicions. The fourth Prince Xavier has arrived and wishes to meet Lady Lembrish. The invitation is official, and now Janesia must decide how to proceed. Surprise gives way to mild irritation, as Janesia wonders why Xavier is even here. His sudden appearance has disrupted her plans and clearly put her on edge. In the Great Hall, Xavier stands out among the guests. He announced he had come to see his fiancée, sparking a murmur and a commotion in the crowd. People wondered why the prince was conversing with Lady Lembrish and no one else. Whispers can be heard in the opulent hall. Strangers have no place near the prince. Gossips suspect foul play, hinting at a love potion. Xavier merely smirks, looking at Janesia, who stands with her back turned oblivious to their gaze. Janesia slightly wearily asks what brings the prince to her. She is reserved and cool, her white hair and glasses accentuating the severity of her appearance. Xavier is unperturbed and replies that he hasn't come empty-handed, but with an important purpose. Prince Xavier drops to one knee before Janesia. His gesture is sudden and solemn. Everyone's eyes are glued to the scene, and tension hangs in the air. He calls her darling and hands her a ring box. Janesia looks at the prince in amazement. An elegant ring with a blue stone sparkles before her. Rays of light sparkle around it, emphasizing the gravity of the moment. Xavier asks for her hand in marriage, his voice full of confidence and determination. The prince vows he will make her life happy, but Janesia doesn't move or respond. Nausea contorts her face. After a moment, she turns away, suppressing her emotions, as if Xavier's words are bringing back painful memories. Memories flash through her mind. Xavier had once knelt before Janesia, making the same promises. Surrounded by flowers and golden light, she had believed him, entrusted him completely, hoping for a bright future. But the end was different. The flames of betrayal burned brighter than any words Genesia remembers, how her faith in Xavier turned to ashes. He betrayed her, destroying everything they had built together. The pain of the past still burned within her. Genesia looks at Xavier with pride and calm. She refuses his offer, refusing to accept the ring. Her words are resolute. She dreams of marrying for love, not because of forced circumstances or empty promises. Xavier jumps up, his face flushed with anger. He doesn't understand what she means and demands an explanation. His abrupt movements and agitated voice betray his confusion. The prince is unaccustomed to rejection and doesn't know how to respond. Genesia remains steadfast. She admits she doesn't love Xavier, and these words completely shatter his confidence. Her violet eyes sparkle with strength and determination, and she stands firm, determined to forge her own path despite her past. Genesia tries to distance herself from Xavier, accusing his feelings of insincerity. She asks him not to interfere any further, but the prince persists, pointing out that she's not the only one lying. His words hurt the girl, and she turns to leave. Xavier looks at Genesia with pain and determination, demanding that she not belittle his love. He claims to know the truth and asks her to open up to him, which intensifies their emotional confrontation. Things escalate when Xavier asks Genesia if she's seeing someone else. She's confused and doesn't understand what he's getting at. But Lisbel's intervention derails the conversation. Furious, she demands an explanation and declares that enough is enough. Lisbel accuses Genesia of deception and says she's leading the prince on. She claims she knows the truth about Genesia's actions behind his back and can no longer remain silent despite their friendship. Lisbel, with tears in her eyes, announces that Genesia is secretly dating Manuel Siet. She says it's wrong to date two people at once, which causes a stir among those present. Genesia becomes consumed with deep thoughts and denies Lisbel's accusations. She realizes how difficult it was for her friend to speak out and begins to wonder what men see in her when they compare themselves to the expectations of others. Genesia finally interrupts Lisbel's torrent of words, confessing that her heart belongs to another man and that they are already engaged. These words shock everyone, including Xavier and Lisbel, escalating the conflict. She explains that Manuel was merely a link between her and her true lover. Genesia adds that Prince Xavier never truly courted her, and she couldn't cheat on someone she wasn't even involved with. Xavier furiously recalls how he begged Genesia to give him a chance. He realizes his efforts were in vain, but his anger is out of control. He furiously tries to put Genesia in her place, which immediately sparks a conflict. Kalian intervenes, stopping Xavier and protecting Genesia. He demands an explanation of what exactly is happening and why Xavier is acting this way. Tensions between them reach breaking point, and Genesia finds herself caught in the middle. Kalian angrily stops Xavier, who dared to raise a hand against his fiancée, Genesia. His red eyes blaze with anger, and his grip on Xavier's wrist demonstrates his firm determination to protect the girl. Xavier is shocked and clutching his sprained wrist in pain. He points out that he spent a month pursuing Genesia and never saw her near Kalian, trying to comprehend what's happening. Kalian continues to pressure Xavier, accusing him of stalking Genesia. Xavier, furious, demands that the girl say something, hoping to justify herself. Kalian gently touches Genesia's face and asks her to tell him about their first meeting to confirm their relationship. His voice is soft but confident, forcing her to look into his eyes. Kalian whispers to her to show her the ring and call him by his name, hinting at the need to make their connection convincing. The closeness between them creates a sense of genuine affection. Genesia realizes she has no other choice and nods resolutely. She assures herself that she can handle this role despite the current situation. Holding her hands over her heart, Genesia begins her story. She explains that she first met Kalian at Lord Windsor's lecture, where she helped him and where he confessed his feelings for her. With a broad smile and a theatrical gesture, Genesia assures everyone that it was love at first sight. She adds that fate itself brought them together, making this statement even more convincing. Xavier and Lisbel are stunned by Genesia's words. Their faces reflect disbelief and shock. The words about love at first sight sound unexpected and incomprehensible to them. Later, in a calmer atmosphere, Kalyan thanks Genesia for her concern. He explains that the situation was urgent and delegates the rest to his trusted assistant, Manuel Genesia, thanks him addressing the prince as Your Highness. Kalyan reminds Genesia of their agreement to address each other by their first names and asks her to drop the formalities. She's surprised, but accepts his words and thanks him. A new level of trust is clearly emerging between them. Genesia is perplexed when Kalyan tells her he's going to take her to the Lembrish estate. He adds that afterward they'll go to the Winter Palace. The girl still doesn't understand why she needs to go there. Confused, Genesia asks the logical question, why is all this necessary? Her face expresses confusion, and her thoughts revolve around the unexpected proposal. She's clearly unprepared for this turn of events. Kalyan looks at her calmly and reminds her that she promised to protect him. Genesia is shocked by this reasoning and is distraught, realizing that she might have to be by his side much more often. With a smile, Kalyan adds that she will spend this year by his side. His confidence and lightness of voice baffle Genesia, but his face reveals an undisguised sincerity that only surprises her further. Genesia sits in bewilderment, repeating Kalyan's words to herself. She tries to comprehend what it means to live in his palace for a whole year. It seems Kalyan's plan leaves her no room for refusal. Although Genesia agrees that she promised to protect him, she sees no point in taking such drastic measures. Her voice sounds uncertain, and her displeasure is hard to conceal. The situation seems absurd to her. Kalyan asks her a question, just when people usually let their guard down. His face remains serious, hinting at something much deeper and more significant than meets the eye. Genesia, a little confused, replies that it happens when people eat. Kalyan calmly corrects her, saying that people become less alert while sleeping. That's precisely when he wants Genesia to protect him. Now, Genesia looks completely stunned. She asks if this means they'll have to sleep in the same bed. Kalyan, without batting an eye, confirms her guess. Genesia, looking at the bed and the single blanket, pondered the difficulties of the coming night. Her violet eyes betrayed her anxiety. The thought of how she and Kalyan would share a bed made her feel uneasy. She nervously considered what might happen if she accidentally took the blanket for herself in her sleep. Her anxiety was obvious. She was clearly unaccustomed to such circumstances and was trying to find a way to avoid the awkwardness. Kalyan, watching from the sidelines, was surprised by her unpredictability. He expected to see strategic moves or cunning in her words, but instead heard a careless question about dividing the blanket, which genuinely amused him. The corners of his lips twitched into a smile. He was beginning to find Genesia far more interesting than he'd previously imagined. Her clumsy, naive musings seemed unexpectedly charming, not as he'd imagined. Holding back a smile, Kalyan moved on to a more important topic. He noted that Genesia was indeed a brilliant mage, but otherwise her demeanor resembled awkwardness. It was important to focus on the matter at hand. His words hinted at high expectations. A royal spouse should be proficient in poetry, history, and philosophy. Images of the ideal future, queen possessing knowledge and grace, surfaced. But the requirements didn't end there. Horsemanship, fencing, and etiquette were also essential skills. In his eyes, Genesia needed training to match the level of the royal family. He reminded her that all this training was just a pretext to get her to the Winter Palace. Genesia glanced away. It all sounded alien and unfamiliar to her, like something distant and unbearable. However, Kalyan continued to convince her of her talents. He noted that she was the smartest wizard in the empire, meaning she would master everything she needed to know faster than anyone else. Her pride subsided somewhat, but her doubts remained. Genesia finally smiled, determined not to give in to fear and doubt. She promised to do her best and try her best. Her face lit up with determination and warmth, surrounded by flower petals. Kalyan calmly tells Genesia that they need to be more open-minded so that others will truly believe their feigned love. His gaze is stern and determined, ready to demonstrate this in practice. The carriage creaks to a halt at its destination, breaking the silence. Genesia, looking at Kalyan, hears a knock on the carriage door. Kalyan announces that they have arrived, and the atmosphere tensely prepares for the upcoming meeting. Genesia looks at Kalyan in surprise as he begins to rise. She doesn't want him to accompany her, but he reminds her that she's still his fiancée, even if it's just part of their game. Genesia steps out of the carriage, expecting Lance to be completely shocked when he learns of their relationship. Her dark thoughts are filled with a slight trepidation. She knows the situation will come as a surprise to the butler. Kalyan's white-gloved hand appears before Genesia. He offers her his support, causing her to freeze in place. She looks at him in confusion, realizing she has nowhere else to go. Genesia hesitantly extends her hand, her face flushing. She's unaccustomed to such gestures and struggles internally with her hesitation. Her confusion is obvious, but she finally gives in. Flowers and light fill the space as Kalyan takes her hand. Genesia thanks him for his gallantry, and he responds coolly as if it means nothing to him. The air between them is thick with hidden feelings. Lance! Their butler looks at the couple with mild surprise. He doesn't understand what's happening and cautiously calls Genesia, expecting an explanation. The scene is so strange that he's clearly at a loss. Genesia confidently informs Lance that this is precisely the arrangement she made with His Highness Kalyan. She asks Lance to pack her things, as she must leave the house that very day. Lance looks at Genesia with concern. He knows time is short, but he decides to tell her something important. His gaze conveys concern and a desire to help, despite the unexpectedness of the situation. Genesia received a list of 105 outstanding mages selected by the Magic Tower. This document is of great importance to her, as each of these wizards has the potential to influence her future. She takes her selection and investment seriously. Artif requested additional funding to study 3 mages on the list. In more detail, Genesia, without hesitation, orders the funds to be allocated confidently, adding that she will personally cover all costs, which astonishes those around her with her decisiveness. Lance doesn't hide his surprise and confusion. He watches the changes in his mistress for a long time, trying to understand the reason for her actions. Confusion is evident in his eyes, but he still follows orders. Genesia explains that her decision stems from finally choosing her path. Despite her relationship with Prince Kalyan, she longs for more. Freedom and the realization of her true dreams, something Lance didn't expect to hear. She admits that her main goal is to become a member of the Magic Tower. Genesia looks at Lance with confidence, declaring that after completing all her current affairs, she will dedicate her life to magic. There is unwavering determination in her voice. Genesia's words astound Lance. He sees in her not just a girl, but a strong individual ready to fight for her ambitions. His eyes widen in surprise, and his expression reveals his admiration for his mistress's new traits. Lance realizes Genesia has changed. Her confidence and determination leave no doubt that she's ready to move forward. He sees in her a new, beautiful, and determined young woman, capable of facing challenges. Genesia realizes the path to her dream won't be easy. She closes her eyes as if contemplating the challenges ahead. Her calm and slight nod confirm her readiness to embrace all challenges without giving up. She maintains that challenges are necessary for growth, and that sometimes you have to find solutions to problems yourself. Her confident smile and calm are captivating, and the atmosphere around her underscores the importance of her words. Rupert Bolton, personal aide to the second Prince of Kalyan, appears. He introduces himself to Genesia with deep respect, hinting that her life is approaching a significant turning point, full of new opportunities and challenges. Kalyan announces to Genesia that Rupert will now be her personal assistant. A spark of misunderstanding immediately flits between Rupert and Genesia, and their glances express clear dissatisfaction with the situation. Having received orders from Kalyan, Rupert reluctantly agrees to show Genesia around, adding that classes will begin in a day. However, he is told not to overdo it, to which he responds with cold resignation. Rupert overwhelms Genesia with a mountain of books, insisting she needs to look through them all today. Her eyes widen in indignation. He's clearly trying to test her patience, or show her that she's not ready for the new responsibilities. Genesia realizes that Rupert doesn't like her from the start. He coldly encourages her to report problems and hints that she's not yet ready to become Kalian's bride, which angers and confuses her. She remains calm, remembering that she was treated much worse in the past. However, she can't understand why Rupert is so hostile, given that they only met recently. This cold reception hurts her. Genesia suddenly remembers the past, the ridicule and humiliation she had to endure. She realizes it may be because of her bastard status, and she feels the past catching up with her again. Rupert coldly informs her that they will part ways in a year, hinting that Genesia is currently overestimating her strength. She begins to reproach him, with her eyes unwilling to give in to his arrogance and pressure. The butler admits he still doesn't trust her. He mentions the assassination attempts on Kalian and wonders how Genesia knew about such events. His suspicions create further tension between them. Genesia understands that Rupert isn't trying to insult her. Rather, he's worried about Kalian's safety and simply wants to reassure her of her trustworthiness. These thoughts calm her somewhat, though the situation remains difficult. She notices how many people care for Kalian, and this surprises her. His entourage, despite their sternness and hostility, acts to protect him. Genesia begins to understand the true motives behind their behavior and resolves not to give up. Genesia, suppressing a smile, understands where this conversation is heading. She firmly convinces Rupert that her concern for Kalian is sincere and deeply motivated by her desire to see him happy and alive. The current circumstances force her to show determination. She reaches for the book, assuring Rupert of her seriousness and commitment. Her confident tone speaks of her sincere intention to help. Rupert is impressed by her tenacity. Genesia declares that she will study and fulfill her promises as long as she's around. She sees this as a chance to show off her best side and prove her abilities. With great enthusiasm, Genesia declares that she won't leave the room until she's learned everything. A mountain of books towers before her, and her determination is infectious, even to someone as calm and unflappable as Rupert. After long hours of intense work, Genesia collapses on her desk, completely exhausted. Her fatigue is so overwhelming that it feels like her soul is about to leave her body. Studying has drained her of all her strength. However, her efforts are not in vain. She answers Rupert's questions brilliantly, demonstrating her skill and excellent memory. His surprise is understandable. Could she really have memorized an entire book? Having barely rested, Genesia continues to promise herself to work even harder. Her resolve is unwavering, even as her body begins to fail her. She seems unaware of how she's drifting off to sleep right there on the spot. When Genesia is completely exhausted, Kalian finds her and gently lifts her into his arms. He notices how tired she looks and expresses concern for her well-being. Waking up in Kalian's arms, Genesia smiles with relief. She reports that she's memorized 40 books and is incredibly tired, but pride in her accomplishments doesn't hide her beaming smile. Kalian frowned with displeasure, thinking about how Rupert's zeal had been excessive. He was determined to deal with him, but seeing Genesia, he assured her that everything would be fine. Genesia, alarmed by the reports of numerous attacks on Kalian, wonders how he knows about the assassination attempts. He explains that he personally approached the Ministry of Magic to create a security device. Along with the tense silence, Kalian notices that Genesia looks tired and lost in her thoughts. She admits that she envies his company and wishing someone would care for her as much. Lost in thought, Genesia smiles, imagining how happy she would be if someone showed her the same attention. A dream flickers in her eyes, suggesting that peace and happiness can be found in caring. Kalian listens attentively to her quiet confessions. He looks at the girl with sadness and understanding, at a loss for words, yet deeply touched by her vulnerability and unfulfilled desires. Silence falls. Genesia drifts off to sleep at the table, and Kalian watches her silently. He suggests she take the day off, hinting that working late has drained her energy, and rest is most important now. Genesia, a little embarrassed and grateful, smiles, and thanks Kalian for his concern. His attention seems unexpected, but so necessary. She begins to feel like she's not alone. However, Kalian brings up another topic. He mentions that he'd like to cancel his appointment with the tailor, and explains that it's part of his preparation for her role as the prince's bride. Genesia looks surprised and confused. Suddenly, memories return. Rupert had mentioned this before Genesia tries to concentrate, but seems overwhelmed and tired from the endless tasks and responsibilities. Kalian calmly reminds her of her status as the prince's fiancée. He's certain that Genesia must look the part, reflecting her high position, even if it tires her. Genesia listens silently to his words, realizing the full weight of her new reality. A weary spirit and a desire to be strong clash within her. Genesia recalls that fashion had never been her interest. Her hands tremble with emotion, and she involuntarily clutches the fabric of her dress, while her interlocutor mockingly notes the change in her demeanor. Kalian, looking indifferent, apologizes to Genesia, realizing he's offended by her words. He quickly adds that he doesn't doubt her sense of style, trying to ease the tension, but his calm doesn't lessen the unpleasant aftertaste. Genesia is surprised to find herself blurting it out loud. She turns around, shocked by the way her thoughts came out. Her embarrassment reflected in her wide eyes, and the slight blush on her cheeks. Despite the rumors about Kalian, Genesia admits to herself that he's not the type to intentionally insult. With a smile on her face, she assures him that she understands his words and holds no grudge trying to maintain her confidence. Two girls in bright dresses run up to Genesia, beaming with joy. They introduce themselves enthusiastically, displaying their charm and courtesy. The atmosphere fills with friendliness and cheerfulness, which surprises Genesia. The boutique's proud milliners explain that their dresses are masterpieces of elegance and handcrafted craftsmanship worthy of attention. Their delight and confidence in their creations fill the room with a lively atmosphere, leaving Genesia slightly perplexed. The girl agrees to follow them, though her attention is distracted. She steals glances at Kalian, who is busy with paperwork. His serious demeanor and conversation with the butler, Rupert, indicate he has a lot on his plate. Rupert hands Kalian the papers, telling him to get started. Kalian nods silently, immersing himself in his work, creating an aura of detachment and concentration around him, as if he were completely cut off from everything going on around him. Genesia notices that Kalian is busy and her gaze wanders. She turns away, following the milliners. Her face expresses mild disappointment, but she quickly pulls herself together, deciding not to disturb him. The craftswomen offer to take Genesia's measurements and ask her to raise her arms. She obediently agrees, allowing them to work, but her thoughts continue to revolve around what just happened. This moment feels like a new chapter in her life. Genesia attracts attention with her unusual beauty. Two girls admiringly discuss her, calling her a diamond, and laugh, assuming she's hiding her eyes. Their violent reactions put her in an awkward position. It's the first time she's received such a sincere compliment. Her violet eyes captivate everyone around her, and her cheeks flush with embarrassment. Genesia is struck by how unusual it feels to hear this, as she's never experienced such attention before. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Kalian and his butler, Rupert, are busy with important matters. The prince appears focused and serious. His presence commands respect and creates a sense of importance. Genesia wonders why everyone has suddenly frozen in place, staring at her. She doesn't realize she's become the center of attention because of her striking appearance. Her vision remains blurry, but the reactions of those around her are clear. Kalian asks her to try on another dress. Genesia is shocked by this proposal and begins to doubt the prince's intentions. She wonders why he is so insistent on her transformation. In her elegant white dress, Genesia looks like a true lady. Her appearance is admired, and even those who haven't tried admit she's perfect. This gives her confidence, though she's still a little shy. The outfit gives way to a bright dress with floral embellishments. Genesia is amazed at how everything suits her. She can't believe how someone can look perfect in absolutely any outfit. Her patience is wearing thin. She admits she can't bear any more costume changes as the situation seems overwhelming. Her emotions are at their limit, and she doesn't know what else is expected of her. Kalian maintains his cool calm and continues giving orders. He says that all the outfits they brought will be tried on later, and for now they should focus on the most important thing. Genesia is surprised by this decision. Rupert the butler is stunned by the changes in his master. He notes that Kalian had never previously shown any interest in clothing or jewelry. His words confirm that a significant change has taken place in the prince. Confused and nervous, Genesia tells Kalyan she doesn't need all the dresses he's offered. She doubts she'll be able to look good in them, covering her face with her hands. The situation is both awkward and touching. Kalyan reassures Genesia with a confident smile, assuring her that absolutely everything looks great on her. His gaze is full of sincerity and tenderness, and his words make her blush and reflect on herself. Genesia, somewhat embarrassed, notes that Kalyan may have been busy with important matters. She timidly adjusts her glasses, clearly trying to hide her sudden nervousness, but her heart betrays her. She senses something special. Genesia's memories transport her to the events of the tournament. Prince Jurgen took first place, and the mage Nia took second. The characters are shown battling, demonstrating their strength and will to win. Xavier, who came in third, laughed and celebrated his success. He looked happy and a little smug, a reminder of how easily he takes things in his stride. Genesia reflects on the events that took place at the tournament. She recalls the explosion and begins to doubt that it was just an accident. A suspicion begins to grow in her mind that there's something more behind it. The memory of the explosion flashes before her eyes. A fiery flash, an explosion, and chaos. Genesia begins to suspect that Kalyan might have been the real target of the incident, which makes her even more anxious. She confidently declares that she will protect him. Genesia looks at Kalyan with determination and tenderness, asking him to trust her again. She makes a promise she is willing to keep at any cost. Kalyan, slightly surprised and touched by her words, nods. His gaze softens, and he agrees to trust Genesia, feeling the strength of her support and sincerity. Kalyan suggests going somewhere, which puzzles Genesia. She asks, confused, where exactly, and her curiosity and slight embarrassment make the moment both funny and charming. Genesia, a girl with white hair and violet eyes, is freezing in the central palace. She suspects cooling magic is to blame, which she shares with Kalyan, who watches her with a cold gaze. Kalyan, lost in thought, suggests that magic is used to slow the decomposition of bodies. Genesia restrains her emotions, but her concern is visible in her eyes, though she nods in understanding. Kalyan says they will leave the palace immediately after the drawing. Genesia agrees, slightly taken aback. Their brief exchange conveys the tension of the situation and hints at a secret. A servant greets them discreetly at the door and informs them that the other princes have already arrived. The atmosphere grows tense as Genesia and Kalyan prepare to enter the hall, anticipating their meeting. Xavier, the blue-eyed prince, stares at Genesia, shocking her. His name escapes her lips, revealing the deep connection between them. Jurgen, the first prince, greets Kalyan with a smile, noting his unexpected appearance. But his sarcasm is directed at Genesia, causing tension in the room. Jurgen approaches Genesia, expressing his opinion of her modesty compared to Lady Tarek. Genesia silently endures his ridicule, but her gaze hardens. His intense attention to Genesia betrays his suspicions. He's trying to notice something that eludes the others. Genesia watches his every move warily. Jurgen begins to speak impudently, causing Kalyan to explode in anger. Kalyan roughly grabs Jurgen's face, demonstrating his strength and protecting Genesia. Kalyan throws Jurgen aside angrily, reminding him of the rules and his place. Genesia, stunned, realizes that Kalyan is willing to protect her at any cost, despite their complicated relationship. Kalyan, consumed by anger, confronts Jurgen for his dismissive attitude. By hurling accusations, he demonstrates his determination to protect what he considers important, despite his status as first prince. Jurgen, provoking Xavier, takes an unexpected blow, but his pride is hurt. He is outraged that his younger brother would dare to act in such a way, displaying his power. But Kalyan restrains him from further action. Xavier, facing the aftermath of the conflict, complains of pain and demands a doctor. He wonders if it was worth provoking, Kalyan realizing his attempts have only worsened the situation. Genesia finds herself next to Kalyan, trying to navigate the tense situation. She confronts his powerful presence, but he assures her everything is under control, heightening the underlying tension. The court chamberlain Simon takes charge of the absent prince's choices, adding intrigue to the proceedings. His confident decision-making underscores the complexity of the proceedings. Genesia unexpectedly volunteers to make the choice for her fiancé. Her courage astonishes those around her, demonstrating her strength of character in the current situation. Simon smiles and cedes the choice to her, thus allowing her to take matters into her own hands. The atmosphere grows tense as everyone awaits her decision. Genesia chooses a card, but suddenly realizes they are all identical. This discovery is disconcerting, raising suspicions of a premeditated plot. Her intuition is correct. She realizes the events are planned. The explosion is scheduled to occur at the ball, which makes her acutely aware of the safety of those around her. Genesia becomes convinced that she is the target of this entire plan. Her resolve grows, and she understands that she is responsible for preventing tragedy. Genesia notices that the cards in her hand reveal an unexpected coincidence. All the cards have the value 6. She begins to suspect something is wrong, realizing that something is clearly wrong, causing slight confusion. Shocked by this fact, the courtiers involved in the event fall silent, trying to comprehend the situation. The Chamberlain, seeing the cards, reacts with sudden surprise and tries to explain how this could have been possible. The Chamberlain panics and claims he's been framed. His emotions and despair are obvious to everyone around him. But Genesia doesn't jump to conclusions, maintaining her composure. Genesia points to the cards but deftly avoids direct accusations. She emphasizes that she never claimed he placed them, which only makes the Chamberlain even more nervous. The situation takes an unexpected turn when it is hinted that an influential figure was behind the Chamberlain's bribery. The cards on a red background reveal the intrigue, hinting at secret manipulation. It's revealed that Prince Jurgen, the Empress's heir, is behind all this. His confident smile and stance make it clear he's not afraid of his involvement being revealed. Cezanne, joining the conversation, expresses suspicion. He coolly hints at ulterior motives and the possibility of a setup. His calm irritates the Chamberlain, who doesn't know how to react. Kalian claims that, thanks to his magic, he can read treacherous thoughts. This adds to the urgency of the situation, as lying now becomes nearly impossible, which worries the perpetrators. Kalian displays an artifact, the Eye of Truth, and confidently declares that it will reveal all secrets. His determination impresses, increasing the pressure on the Chamberlain. The Eye of Truth activates, illuminating the Chamberlain. The light symbolizes exposure, and his panic confirms his guilt. Genesia watches as events unfold, ready to exploit the truth for her own ends. Genesia, studying the actions of one of the characters, realizes he's using a mysterious toy, which piques her interest. She confidently notices an unusual connection between this toy and the events unfolding. She recalls hearing about Valan's creation, a legendary artifact showing interest. She asks permission to examine this relic, emphasizing its unique value. Examining the artifact, Genesia concludes that it is a level 3 artifact. She uncovers hidden details and realizes that the Chamberlain may be hiding greater secrets. Impressed, she notices a strange shield adorned with petals and recognizes its connection to Jurgen's coat of arms. Her insight leads to unexpected discoveries. Fifth Prince Cezanne realizes that Genesia has figured out his plans and begins to panic. He didn't expect her analysis to be so accurate. Taking responsibility for what happened, Cezanne falls to his knees in despair, before Genesia begging her not to inform the king. His remorse seems genuine. Meanwhile, Kalian, the second prince, invites Genesia to return to the Winter Palace, emphasizing the importance of her presence there. He displays determination and confidence. Genesia understands that she must let Kalian deal with the Chamberlain. She trusts his ability to resolve this difficult conflict. Analyzing the current situation, Genesia realizes that switching the cards could have given Jurgen an advantage, but the devastating consequences of the explosion would have made it useless. Lost in thought, Genesia feels like she's missing something important. She analyzes the details, hoping to find the missing link in this complex case. Manuel bursts into Genesia's room unexpectedly, asking if she's lost anything. His energy contrasts with her surprise. Genesia, seeing him, calls out sharply, underscoring her genuine confusion. Manuel notices that Genesia looks rested and shares the news that the Ministry of Magic is currently in complete chaos. His polite but tense tone suggests he comes with an important warning. Genesia begins to wonder what her friend Lisbel might have done. Her tired sigh betrays her anxiety until Manuel clarifies what he means. Genesia already feels a growing discomfort. Lisbel appears on stage. Her face and tears express her distress. She explains that after a recent incident, she had to transfer to another department. Her emotions underscore the gravity of the situation. Manuel openly expresses his concern. His serious gaze makes it clear that the situation with the Ministry of Magic and Lisbel is deeply troubling him, which only heightens the tension in their conversation. Genesia learns that Lisbel is trying to use the newspapers to attack the Ministry of Magic. Her actions appear to be revenge for a past breakup with a man of high rank. Genesia is disgruntled when she realizes the truth of her words. Genesia tries to suppress her emotions, but feels irritated. She can't justify Lisbel's actions, even if she partially understands her motives. Her gaze becomes cold and focused. Manuel reveals that Lisbel wants to undermine the high-ranking official's reputation before an important ceremony. Her determination to seize any opportunity reveals the depth of her grievances and aspirations. Manuel warns Genesia that her return to work will attract journalists' attention and spark rumors. He recommends that she temporarily distance herself from this chaos to avoid a scandal. Genesia wonders if she'll meet Lisbel at the ceremony. Manuel's use of the word "most likely" sounds like a harbinger of a tense encounter, leaving room for intrigue and further developments. Genesia, smiling dazzlingly, is preparing for some important event, thanking Manuel for his advice. Her gaze radiates confidence, and her gestures are graceful. She seems determined and already knows how to impress those around her. Genesia meets Manuel and asks him about Lord Windsor's fate. He explains he means Lord Cedric, who appears to be in good spirits. The conversation is warm and easygoing. Looking at Cedric in the distance, Genesia wonders about his feelings for Lisbel. She considers how Lisbel's transfer to another house might have affected him. Her thoughts are full of doubts, but she carefully assesses the situation. Manuel, shyly fiddling with the gold-embellished envelope, searches for the right words to address Genesia. He nervously begins a conversation about the induction ceremony, trying to overcome his own embarrassment. Having gathered his courage, Manuel asks Genesia to dance. His eyes are full of hope and sincerity, and his gestures reveal hesitation mixed with determination. He waits for her answer with bated breath. Knowing that the prince himself will invite Genesia to the first dance, Manuel adds that he will wait for her for the second. His voice and gaze radiate timidity and sincere emotion, touching her heart. Looking at Manuel, Genesia realizes he has no one else to invite. A mixture of sympathy and a desire to help wells up in her soul. Her face reflects her inner struggle and powerful emotions. Lisbel, noticing Genesia's confusion, confidently declares that she's received numerous offers herself and has absolutely no idea what to do with them. Her words are filled with amusement, but she never misses the opportunity to support her friend. Lisbel, teasing Genesia, jokes about her worries, cheerfully showing off fan letters. The atmosphere is tense, but there are genuine notes of friendly concern and joy in her voice. Deciding she can't let Manuel suffer, Genesia accepts his invitation. Her heart is filled with determination, and her face lights up with a radiant smile. She's ready to make this moment a happy one for both of them. Genesia resolutely vows to achieve dance perfection, radiating inspiration and a vibrant spirit. She glows with confidence, full of energy and determination to conquer the art of movement, overcoming any obstacle. Her enthusiasm collides with reality when practice proves more difficult than theory. Genesia realizes she should have attended more events to acquire the necessary skills and begins to doubt her abilities. Meanwhile, Lisbel, dressed to perfection, and with a smug smile prepares to demonstrate her superiority at the upcoming event. Her self-confidence hints at her upcoming rivalry with Genesia. Genesia concentrates and resumes her dance moves. She struggles with the discomfort of her dress and heels, but she doesn't give up stubbornly, trying to develop grace and harmony in her dance. Suddenly, Kalyan approaches her. He catches her as she loses her balance, and their gazes meet. Genesia is confused, but she senses the support the second prince is ready to offer her. Kalyan calmly explains that it's important to take your time in dancing, taking it step by step. His words are encouraging, and he helps Genesia begin again, calming her inner chaos. The prince gently offers her to lean on him and trust him. Genesia feels an unexpected warmth from his help, and her tension begins to subside, giving way to confidence and inner harmony. Under Callion's guidance, Genesia relaxes and takes a gentle sidestep. They move together smoothly, and she begins to appreciate the beauty of dance, gaining confidence and a sense of rhythm. Genesia is thrilled to realize she's overcome her fears and mastered her first dance step. She smiles and thanks Callion, remarking on what a wonderful teacher he is. Finally, Genesia, beaming, asks if she's ready for the party. Callion calmly responds, reminding her that her success isn't a question, but a fact. Thus begins a new chapter in her confidence and friendship. Genesia, a shy girl with white hair, is tormented by her awkwardness. She worries that her behavior could ruin the reputation of Callion, the second prince. Her anxiety is visible in her eyes. Callion, watching Genesia, tries to reassure her. His words convey confidence, suggesting that she shouldn't worry so much and compare herself to others like Lisbelle, a more outgoing and confident girl. Callion shares how he used a trick to deal with the game master to avoid any potential trouble. He struck a deal without revealing the card swap, thus protecting them from future gossip and suspicion. He also cunningly convinced his father to draw new cards, making them special. This act was presented as an apology, but also guaranteed a unique gift sent especially for Genesia. A special gift from the Empress, renowned for her beauty and status. This piece of jewelry, imbued with meaning, distinguished Genesia, establishing her as a member of the imperial family. Genesia realizes that receiving a gift from the Empress elevates her to a special status. If anyone dares to mock her, it will be perceived as an insult to the Empress herself. Callion assures Genesia that no one will dare treat her badly now. Everything is arranged so she can enjoy the holiday, leaving all doubts behind. After the events, Genesia gets rid of her glasses, having healed her vision with magic. Her appearance changes, which elicits admiration from those around her and gives her greater confidence. In front of the mirror, Genesia asks the maids to make her unrecognizable, wanting to become different and hide from her former fears and attention. The maids are inspired by her request and happily take on the task, transforming Genesia into a new image full of freshness and mystery. A new stage in her life begins. The majestic hall was filled with the glitter of golden decorations as Xavier, the fourth prince of the empire, stepped into the center, capturing everyone's attention. His dazzling smile and confidence captivated the hearts of those gathered. Xavier greeted the audience with a gentle wave of his hand, exuding charm and ease. The crowd erupted in cheers, and he basked in the attention, reflecting on how lucky he was to be at the center of this event. In the shadows of the opulent hall, Callion watched the intrigues thoughtfully. He was pleased to learn that Jurgen had attempted deception and now planned to use this to request a personal favor, aiming for a stealthy victory. Thoughtful of the possibility of avenging his brother, Callion realized he'd missed the chance to exploit the situation for his own ends. His inner laughter reflected the irony of the moment, though he didn't regret the missed opportunity. Callion and his fiancée, Genesia, arrived. Her captivating, graceful appearance elicited whispers of admiration. Even Xavier was struck by her transformed aura and elegance, which added to her mysterious appearance. Genesia, looking enchanting in her shimmering gown, drew admiring glances. Her magical talent, whispered about by guests, created an aura of majestic mystery around her, enhancing the overall impression. With a slight smile, Genesia wished prosperity to the empire, symbolically raising her gaze. Her graceful appearance, combined with her confident gesture, emphasized her strength and grace, which evoked the admiration of her guests. Empress Theodora, observing Genesia, remarked how beautifully the jewel suited her. Her words about the significance of the first dance sounded like advice, hinting at the importance of the evening's events. Emperor Tascio, concealing his boredom with the glitter of his crown, gave the signal for the dancing to begin. His indifference only emphasized the contrast between the grandeur of the celebration and his own indifference to the proceedings. Genesia and Callion moved gracefully across the center of the hall, becoming the center of everyone's attention. Their dance embodied the harmony that united them, despite the intrigues and tensions surrounding them in the imperial court. Emperor Tasciu sits on his throne, his figure radiating majesty and mystery. Genesia notes that he appears younger than his years, but is surprised by rumors that the emperor lacks magic. Kalian, the second prince, addresses Genesia, urging her to let go of her thoughts. His voice is confident and caring, and his gaze is determined to support her. He reassures Genesia, reminding her to relax and rely on him. This moment becomes intimate between them, as he gently embraces her, creating an atmosphere of comfort and trust. Genesia complains about the discomfort of her high heels, but despite her fatigue, she still strives to fulfill her promise and dance with another gentleman afterward. Kalian, noticing her fatigue, offers his solution. He gently lifts Genesia, allowing her to stand on his feet to avoid pain. This gesture demonstrates his genuine concern for her. Surprised and touched, Genesia accepts his help. Her heart begins to flutter, and she feels their connection deepening, though she tries to contain her emotions. Kalian whispers to her that he will take care of her. His confident tone and sincere gaze give her a sense of calm. This moment strengthens the trust between them. Genesia feels Kalian's closeness evokes strong emotions within her. She is confused, thinking he might hear her heartbeat and guess her feelings. In the hall, guests discuss the couple, noticing their perfect interaction. Their gestures and glances evoke admiration from those around them, who dream of seeing them together. Some guests decide to approach and introduce themselves. Their excited faces and applause add to the lively atmosphere, underscoring the importance of the moment. Lisbel is shocked and in tears at the situation unfolding before her. Selena and Meg notice and criticize her boldness in appearing at the ball after the dramatic events that left a mark on everyone present. Selena and Meg students at the Magical Academy offer their help to Lisbel, reminding her that they are her friends. Their support sounds sincere, but between the lines, an underlying tension hints at their ulterior motives. Meg, watching Genesia dance, notices her limp and sarcastically remarks on it. She's certain that Genesia's flawless facade conceals weaknesses that can be exploited against her. Selena discusses with Lisbel that Genesia will soon be heading to the ladies' room. She advises Lisbel to stay put and attract Prince Kalian's attention, hinting that this will help strengthen her position. Genesia dances with Prince Kalian, and their mutual attraction is obvious to those around them. Despite rumors, their couple appears harmonious, but Lisbel notices this and questions the authenticity of their feelings, suspecting the emperor's interference. The crowd begins to discuss Genesia, and her past whispers reveal rumors that she abandoned one prince for another, further fueling the intrigue surrounding her identity. Lisbel overhears a conversation about Genesia's past. The gossip touches on her turbulent affair with the fourth prince and hints of pressure from the second prince, revealing new secrets to Lisbel. Genesia notices the conversation and decides to intervene. Her confident and direct question leaves those around her at a loss. Despite the tension, she appears calm and confident, creating an aura of strength. The gossips sheepishly defend themselves, trying to hide their curiosity. However, their unconvincing words only serve to underscore their guilt. Genesia maintains a cool composure, demonstrating her superiority. Lisbel watches the proceedings lost in her thoughts. She admires Genesia's confidence, but can't shake a feeling of envy and anxiety, knowing she's in her shadow. Selena appears with a smug smile, creating a tense atmosphere. Genesia realizes the situation is getting more complicated, as Lisbel and Meg are also nearby, ready to intervene. Genesia sighs heavily, realizing she'll have to deal with several opponents at once. Her composure reveals an inner resolve to defend her position. I recall the moment at the academy when Selena, Lisbel, and Meg joined forces to oppress Genesia. Their cunning expressions hint at a new intrigue. Kalian, keeping his emotions in check, demonstrates firmness. He intends to protect Genesia at any cost, regardless of the possible consequences for himself. Genesia challenges Lisbel, exposing her lies. Her calm is tempered by bitterness, as she resolves to finally put an end to the rumors and intrigues. Genesia bluntly states that she is not interested in the attention of the fourth prince, Xavier. His surprise underscores the unexpectedness of the situation for everyone present. Genesia claims that the second Prince Kalian proposed to her. This dispels all speculation and intrigue, shocking those present. Genesia takes a bold step by professing her love for Kalian. Their closeness vividly confirms her words, creating a romantic contrast to the drama. Genesia condemns the spread of rumors, pointing out their insult not only to her, but also to Kalyan. Her gaze is stern. Genesia warns her opponents to be careful with slander. Her firm stance and confident tone demonstrate that she will not tolerate further attacks. Genesia leaves the group of women, their surprise palpable, as this is out of character for her. She surprised them with her decisiveness, as her actions had left them doubting her intentions. She approaches Kalyan, musing on those who always work together. Her confidence is evident in the fact that she notices their ally's absence, yet maintains her composure. Kalyan clarifies her intentions, his gaze serious, his words full of surprise. He's trying to figure out if she truly understands what she's doing, as her actions seem unexpected to him. Genesia laughs, justifying her behavior. She ignores the gossip and other people's words, acknowledging that she couldn't allow Kalyan to be humiliated. Her determination to protect him provokes a profound reaction in him. Kalyan is struck by her actions. He reflects on her unpredictability and unexpected decisiveness. Her actions surprise him, but he admires her courage and sincerity. Kalyan draws her closer, their conversation becoming increasingly personal. He hints at rumors of the past that people still discuss. His tone emphasizes the importance of this topic. Genesia reacts calmly, her gaze conveying confidence. She allows Kalyan to speak of duty, creating a tense atmosphere between them filled with hidden emotions. Kalyan takes her hand, making it clear he wants to repay her for her actions. His determination is combined with gentleness, and his gesture leaves her unsettled. He offers to walk her home, emphasizing his concern. His actions express more than simple politeness, causing Genesia to struggle internally between gratitude and embarrassment. Their gazes meet, transporting them back to the past. Genesia feels moved by his words, and the moment becomes the climax of their conversation. Her determination and his tenderness create a tense, emotional finale to the scene. At the meeting, Selena and Meg greet each other cheerfully. Selena appears confident, despite her sarcastic tone, while Meg makes a pointed comment about her outfit, implying the underlying tension between them. Meg and Selena are about to talk to Genesia, who appears shy and unsure. The atmosphere becomes tense as they surround her, demonstrating their superiority, and Genesia feels uncomfortable. The sudden action puts Genesia in a humiliating position. Her reaction, full of indignation and hurt, reveals how deeply Selena and Meg's words and actions have hurt her. Selena gives Genesia a dressing down, accusing her of treachery and lies. Her tone is full of anger, and Meg stands behind her, nodding along and adding fuel to the fire. Genesia tries to justify herself, her voice trembling and her eyes filling with tears. She looks crushed and frightened under the pressure of the two girls, unable to find the words to explain. Selena sharply confronts Genesia, demanding an explanation. Her anger clearly demonstrates that she considers Genesia unworthy. The situation becomes increasingly threatening. Meg roughly grabs Genesia by the hair, demonstrating her dominance. Her words express contempt, and Genesia tries to remain calm despite the physical and mental pressure. Selena humiliates Genesia by discussing her appearance. Her words are cruel, intensifying Genesia's suffering, as she already feels out of place in this environment. The crowd looks at Genesia with disdain and ridicule. Her humiliated state evokes mixed emotions from sympathy to disgust. She hangs her head, feeling crushed. Selena invites another girl to join their group. She emphasizes that the club is only for elegant noblewomen, implying that Genesia clearly doesn't fit that mold. White-haired Genesia advises Meg to make new acquaintances at the party. Her words sound insistent, making Meg suspicious that Genesia is up to something with her suggestion. Red-haired Selena insists she had no malicious intent, only honesty. However, her remark is accompanied by a mocking smile, heightening suspicion and tension. Genesia demands an apology for being humiliated and insulted, recalling past grievances. Her self-confidence and audacity are impressive, shocking those around her. Meg breaks down and screams, reacting furiously to Genesia's words. Selena tries to calm her down, but she herself looks irritated. Emotions run high. An argument ensues with Genesia, accused of stealing Lisbel's man. Genesia, however, clearly doesn't understand what's going on, heightening the intrigue. Selena was concerned about Meg's behavior, noting her inability to control her emotions. She clearly hoped the situation would develop more calmly. A pink-haired Lisbel appears on stage, sharing her experiences. She blames Genesia for supposedly ruining her dreams by winning the attention of Prince Kalyan. Emotions run high as Lisbel begins to sob, remembering how she was betrayed. Selena and Meg support her, but their anger and disappointment are directed at Genesia. Lisbel desperately asks Meg and Selena for help. Her pain and desire for revenge are sympathetic, although they only make the situation more tense. Lisbel declares her intention to attend the feast and regain Prince Kalyan's attention. Her determination and fury give the story a dramatic twist, promising further conflict. Meg, burning with anger, argued fiercely with Selena, pointing out the absurdity of their plan. Selena tried to calm her down, but Meg suggested a radical solution, simply eliminating Lisbel instead of plotting complex intrigues. Genesia watched from a distance, her expression filled with disbelief and contempt. She realized the girls hadn't come to help her, but were pursuing their own agenda, suspecting Lisbel was once again trying to seize what wasn't hers. Lisbel held dolls representing Genesia and her allies. Her eyes glittered with cold triumph as she accused Genesia of always being jealous of her and argued that this time would be different. The man, who appeared shrouded in an aura of arrogance, declared that Lisbel would no longer be able to get what she so desired. His tone was full of confidence, and his gaze pierced her with icy determination. Meg, not holding back her sarcasm, challenged Genesia, reminding her of her past. She chided her for her cowardice, for always standing aside, but now daring to speak out against them. Genesia calmly announced that magical items were prohibited at the event, emphasizing that her opponents had no means of using magic. Her words were a challenge, cold and confident. Genesia proved her power by creating fire without the aid of artifacts. Her magic illuminated the hall, and her voice was full of disdain. She reminded everyone that she didn't need any aids to control fire. Flames enveloped Genesia, who acted confidently, reveling in her power. Meg and Selena were clearly at a loss, their faces expressing a mixture of fear and bewilderment. Genesia continued to demonstrate her superiority. Genesia threatened her opponents, declaring that they must get out of her way. Her magic grew even stronger, and her gaze was full of determination. Fear began to take hold of her opponents, forcing them to consider the consequences. Selena, in a panic, wondered how the once weak Genesia had grown into such a threat. She realized the situation had spiraled out of control, and feared Genesia might carry out her threats, changing their fate forever. Genesia, clad in bright jewels and sparkling with rage, erupts into flames, challenging those around her. She reveals that Liesel has been manipulating everyone around her, deceiving and controlling them, emphasizing that she herself is no longer susceptible to her influence. Her eyes, filled with determination, glow with a violet light. Genesia condemns those present for their subservience to Liesel and accuses them of being mere puppets. Her words shock Meg and Selene, leaving them bewildered. Rising to her full height, surrounded by a fiery aura, Genesia declares that she will no longer allow herself to be humiliated. She challenges all who dare stand in her way, demonstrating her determination and strength. Selena screams in panic, begging Meg to do something as Genesia's fire frightens her. She's clearly unprepared to face such power and determination. Meg is distraught when she realizes that the magical fire emanating from Genesia can only be extinguished by another mage or Genesia herself. Her confusion grows, forcing her to question what's happening. Genesia asserts her independence with aplomb, looking down on Meg and Selene. Her presence fills them with awe as she reminds them that it was Liesel who led them into this trap. With her head held high, Genesia acknowledges her strength, but emphasizes that she will not become like her tormentors. Her words are full of contempt, but also dignity. Looking in their direction, Genesia declares with cold confidence that she hopes to never again meet those who betrayed her trust, leaving them to reflect on their actions. Confused, Meg tries to understand what Genesia meant when she called them Liesel's puppets. She can't find any answers, only watching Genesia leave. Genesia, confidently closing the door behind her, utters a phrase that makes everyone think twice about their actions. Her determination makes it clear that she will no longer allow herself to be manipulated. Genesia, in a sparkling dress, declares that she never talks about others behind their backs. Her confidence and composure are combined with a proud posture, while her gaze wanders off into space, indicating her inner turmoil. She turns with a slight challenge, a reminder that those around her are easily influenced. Her violet eyes sparkle, emphasizing her strength and independence, even if her words seem sharp. The doors slam behind Genesia, leaving Selena and Meg confused. Their surprise turns to alarm, which only confirms the impact Genesia's actions have on those around them. The scene switches to Rupert, who is shouting outraged by Manuel's carelessness. Their argument takes on a comical tone until the latter only seems to intensify the butler's irritation. Manuel turns around abruptly, confused by Rupert's interest in his presence. His sharp yellow eyes, filled with anger and anxiety, reveal the conflict within. Rupert calmly announces that the prince has gone to the garden to meet with the court count. His voice is calm, but his eyes betray a certain weariness from the endless questions. Manuel, in turn, withdraws into himself, realizing that all his emotions are triggered by one thought. Genesia. The silence that fills him emphasizes the strength of his feelings. Rupert sighs wearily, realizing he's addressing Manuel as a friend. His sincerity cuts through the tension, but doesn't quell Manuel's tormenting thoughts. Kalian, standing surrounded by red flowers, reminds Manuel of his place and devotion to the prince. His calm and confidence chill his heart, as if his words echo an immutable truth. The tension reaches a peak as it becomes clear that Manuel's desire conflicts with his duties. The struggle between emotion and duty reveals the tragedy of his situation. Manuel, with a serious expression, says that the word wish sounds too harsh, making it clear that emotions are important, but they should be expressed with more care. He notes with restraint that even His Highness's feelings for Lady Lambreche remain empty. A mixture of sadness and disappointment reflects in his eyes, as if he sees something more behind it. Genesia, alarmed, finds herself the center of attention when Manuel and Rupert approach her. She tries to explain what happened, but her concern is transmitted to those around her. In the tense atmosphere, Manuel is shocked to realize that Kalian is in danger. Genesia tries to figure out if he knows where the prince might be, and fear for her friend is evident in her eyes. A man in a dark robe appears in the garden. He imperiously interrupts any attempts at discussion, pointing out that there's no point in wasting time repeating the obvious. The atmosphere becomes ominous. Palace Count Richard Schutaner confidently declares that he will not stop until he changes his interlocutor's mind. His determination underscores the importance of the upcoming events. A crown with precious stones becomes a symbol of ambition when the interlocutor emphasizes the need to declare one's intention to take the throne. Support is key to achieving one's goal. Kalian declares with cold determination that his goal is not the throne, but the destruction of the royal family. His voice is thick with hatred, emphasizing that his plans extend beyond power. Richard tries to persuade Kalian, reminding him of family ties. However, Kalian, with a defiant look in his eyes, says that no one will stop him, not even for his family. The image of Kalian's mother, Violetta, emerges in his memories, smiling tenderly among the flowers. This reminder of the past reveals that his family is more than just words, but part of his inner struggle. Kalian, dressed in a luxurious robe, gestures for silence, creating intrigue around the proceedings. He looks around carefully and allows his companion to unravel the mystery. This hints at the beginning of an important event. Lisbel, a young girl with pink hair, appears introducing herself with genuine enthusiasm. She states her name and emphasizes her connection to Kalian's fiancé, which immediately sparks interest in her role in this interaction. Lisbel regrets her accidental intrusion, admitting to overhearing the prince's conversation while strolling through the garden. Her embarrassment and apology create an atmosphere of mystery and tension. Kalian's companion recalls Lisbel's former appearance, quiet and modest. The comparison of her past with her present highlights the striking contrast and piques curiosity about her history. Lisbel, hiding behind the leaves, admits to herself that she barely heard anything. She's clearly playing the naive role, but her smile hints at hidden intentions, evoking ambiguous feelings. She promises to keep what she heard a secret, begging Kalian to trust her. Her sincerity is mingled with a hint of cunning, making the scene emotionally charged. Lisbel, seizing the opportunity, wants to ask the prince for a favor. Her boldness is surprising and highlights how different she is from her former quiet nature, drawing all attention to their interaction. She offers to remain silent in exchange for the prince spending time with her. Her offer seems unexpected, but her tone and expression suggest a carefully thought-out plan. Lisbel's internal monologue reveals her thoughts. She is surprised by Callion's intense gaze, realizing that her previous expectations about his character have been misguided. The companion reminded Lisbel that Callion was already engaged, but her reaction suggests she had no intention of breaking up the engagement. Her true intentions remain a mystery, adding intrigue to the unfolding story. Lisbel happily reveals that she's Genesia's close friend, attempting to project an air of ease and confidence. However, her demeanor betrays an underlying nervousness and insincerity, hinting at a deep conflict. Memories overwhelm Lisbel, as she confesses that her relationship with Genesia has deteriorated significantly since the incident at the ministry. Tears fill her eyes, betraying her regret at the loss of contact. Lisbel turns to Callion for help, hoping he can restore her friendship with Genesia. She pleads for his support, explaining that she wants to clear up misunderstandings and make peace. Genesia walks through a picturesque garden, enjoying the silence. Suddenly, she trips and pain shoots through her leg. This minor incident attracts the attention of those present, but she remains determined. Despite her injury, Genesia insists on finding Callion immediately. Her determination demonstrates her strength of character, but her anxiety intensifies when her friends offer their help. Genesia hears a familiar laugh, which arouses suspicion. She recalls Lisbel's preference for sweets, her dislike of vegetables, and her peculiar habits, which begin to seem odd to her in the current situation. Lisbel appears with a beaming smile, expressing joy at the meeting. However, Genesia is wary, her thoughts filled with doubts. She begins to notice discrepancies in Lisbel's behavior. Genesia accuses Lisbel of trying to get close to Callion. Images of the past intensify her anger as she recalls moments that confirm her suspicions. Genesia questions why Lisbel came through the muddy garden path when there's direct access near the ballroom. Her suspicions deepen, and the tension between the girls mounts. Lisbel admits she ended up in the garden by accident, but Genesia sees it as the result of a cunning plan. The conversation escalates, highlighting the rift in their relationship and the challenges that must be overcome. Lisbel, standing alone, reflects on how her tears always led to her being unfairly attacked, like at the academy. Her eyes are burning and her emotions are running high, but she decides to use her cunning to get her way. She's confident her plan will work, because all she has to do is appear vulnerable, and everyone will be on her side. She reproaches her opponent, accusing him of changing, and her tone becomes feignedly touching to elicit sympathy. Lisbel, holding back her laughter, demonstrates her mastery of manipulation. She hides her true emotions behind a mask of weakness, playing along with her role. Her cunning expression heightens the tension in her confrontation with Genesia. Callion, noticing Lisbel, looks at her condition with concern. Her role is paying off, as his expression suggests he's beginning to believe in her vulnerability and care. Genesia, looking proud, pauses in her conversation with Callion. She tries to maintain her composure despite the growing tension. Outwardly calm, she inwardly braces herself for another blow. When Genesia orders them to return to the castle, her escorts look on with worried expressions. Lisbel in the shadows feigns modesty, but her gaze betrays a hidden joy at the success of her scheme. Lisbel, standing aside, notices that attention is waning. Her confusion and slight fear are evident in her movements and gaze, forcing her to wonder why she's losing control of the situation. The servant informs Callion of the crew's readiness for Genesia, but Callion refuses, demonstrating his full attention to the situation. This confirms his commitment and willingness to support Genesia. Callion unexpectedly picks up Genesia. Her shock and confusion are heightened by his closeness. Lisbel watches with envy, realizing she's losing her chance to manipulate him. Genesia realizes Callion's plan, to demonstrate their union to others. Her gaze hardens, though inside she's plagued by doubts. Lisbel, observing this, realizes their bond is growing stronger than she expected. Lisbel watches the scene unfold, her fists clenched. Her anger boils, convinced that Genesia is unworthy of her attention. Her every thought is filled with contempt and irritation toward her competitor. Genesia feels awkward in Callion's arms, embarrassment coloring her cheeks. She thanks him, but can't shake the feeling that he might become just another toy in Lisbel's hands. Callion stares at Genesia, indicating her confusion. She is surprised by his words and asks what he means. Feeling her heart begin to beat faster, her memories take her back. She doesn't remember Callion holding her in his arms before her eyes fill with emotion and her words echo her inner turmoil. Genesia feels lost as if in a fog. However, it's not this that truly shocks her, but Callion's soft touch, which evokes a warm feeling in her soul. Callion's gaze pierces her, and his determination to protect her makes Genesia pause. Their mutual sincerity makes this moment truly meaningful. Alone, Genesia reflects on her feelings. Her heart beats faster, as if she's beginning to realize that Callion is invested in their relationship much more than she is. She firmly decides that everything Callion does is right. It is her duty to uphold their contract, and she is willing to focus on her responsibilities for his sake. Genesia clenches her fists and resolves to do everything possible to protect Callion. Her determination and confidence fill her with new meaning. Rupert notices a change in Genesia. Her expression changes from embarrassment to firmness. He suggests she take a break, but she makes it clear she's ready to fight on. Genesia assures him that she's fine, but her gaze is tense. A tense silence reigns between her and Callion. They sit in a room that seems too spacious for their silent conversation. Rupert is agitated, his voice full of anger. He doesn't understand why he's found himself in this difficult situation and accuses his father of injustice. His rage is reflected in his gestures and the glare in his eyes. Clutching the medallion in his hand, Rupert recalls how his father gave him this magical artifact. The red stone shimmers, as if responding to his indignation. A look of despair mingled with resentment appears in his eyes. The next shot shows a hand holding a medallion. This item was created specifically for the tournament, and it is infused with magical energy. Red beams of light erupt from the stone, emphasizing its power. Callion appears holding the same medallion. His serious face and stern gaze command respect. He explains that this artifact was created by the Minister of Magic and is capable of activating powerful offensive magic. Rupert clenches his teeth, his face filled with anger and despair. He understands that despite all his gifts, he has been sent into an unequal battle. This realization transforms his emotions into rage and pain. Jade Xavier's right-hand woman advises her interlocutor to conserve his strength before an important tournament. His calm voice and confident movements add weight to his words as he carefully removes the rose from the floor. Jade deduces that Callion is His Majesty's favorite, as he alone was entrusted with the magical item. His eyes are filled with observation and hidden envy, and the atmosphere grows even more tense. Genesia sees two men. Prince Xavier and his right-hand man, Jade. Tension passes between them. Jade makes a taunt doubting the prince's strength, and Xavier responds with a look full of confidence that offends Jade. Xavier seemingly transformed smiles as he tells Jade that his father would never have entrusted him with such an important thing if he hadn't loved him. This confidence strengthens his resolve to defeat Callion. Jade, looking at the prince's self-confidence, barely contained her irritation. Her thoughts about Xavier's lack of restraint and capriciousness were compounded by the unpleasant scent of roses the prince had brought with him. Jade decides to leave the stage to survey the arena. His face becomes more serious, and as if hiding his emotions, he retreats deeper into the palace. Genesia and her butler, Rupert, discuss the tournament plan, en route, Rupert shares a map so she can easily navigate and prepare for the upcoming events. Genesia, carefully studying the map, notices that Callion and Xavier's names are on the same list of participants. This causes her great concern, as she realizes that events are starting to unfold against her. She recalls an incident in the past where an explosion occurred in a group that included Callion and Xavier. This makes her wonder why history is starting to repeat itself. An image of the king personally drawing up the tournament cards flashes through Genesia's mind. She's surprised at how such a mistake could have happened as she now sees the potential threats. Genesia realizes that the explosion is inevitable unless something is done. This compels her to take action before the tournament even begins. She quickens her pace, determined to find a way to prevent disaster. Her thoughts are focused on protecting people and securing the upcoming tournament. Genesia's previous clash with Kalen resulted in a powerful explosion that destroyed everything in its path. A magical ritual and a powerful energy source transformed the arena into a field of chaos, leaving more questions than answers. She realizes that powerful forces are behind this, capable of exploiting such resources. Genesia desperately searches for the culprit, her mind overwhelmed by guesses, but the answer remains elusive. Jade approaches her, surprising her with his appearance. He politely asks if she needs help, while Genesia is suspicious of his intentions. Genesia recognizes Jade, who displays his confidence and charm. His appearance stirs memories. He is known as the right-hand man of the illegitimate prince, Giron, surrounded by rumors and mistrust. A con man and self-proclaimed Baron, Jade embodies a dangerous blend of cunning and charm. His past is known far beyond the palace, which heightens Genesia's caution in his presence. Jade offers to show him the arena, describing it in minute detail. Genesia listens to his story, but her attention is focused on searching for evidence or clues to the solution. He reveals that he knows everyone guarding the arena and offers to infiltrate it to investigate. Genesia hesitates, but her desire to uncover the truth outweighs her doubts. Once inside, she notices that the tiles look new and have an unusual shine. This makes her suspicious. Jade tries to distract her with stories, but her attention is focused on the floor. Genesia discovers strange magical traces beneath the tiles. Despite Jade's attempts to restrain her, she continues to investigate, her curiosity piqued. Beneath the slabs, she discovers destruction stones emitting dangerous magical energy. This discovery stuns her. The mystery of the previous explosion becomes even more complex, and the danger becomes clear. Genesia watches the magical energy, the tension visible on her face. She realizes that the forces hidden here could very well cause an explosion, but the absence of a magical rune worries her. Her hunch is confirmed. The explosion may have been caused by a magical object. Suddenly, she's distracted by a knight who addresses Jade, clarifying that their guest is accompanied by Xavier's personal assistant. Genesia arouses the knight's suspicions, believing she might start touching objects. Jade, realizing the situation, tries to calm the guards, but their tension escalates. The knight feels uneasy seeing Genesia actually putting effort into something he didn't expect. She and Jade assure him they know each other, allowing them to continue their journey. Jade warns Genesia of the consequences of her actions. He explains that her curiosity could lead to them being accused of damaging the arena and even arrested, but she dismisses this. A sudden noise catches Genesia's attention. Her gaze is wary, but she remains calm despite the sudden break in silence. Her intuition tells her something is wrong. In an open square, a group of men accuse a boy of cheating. Their accusations ring loudly, convinced he used dishonest methods, otherwise he couldn't have won. The boy brazenly responds to his bullies. He's confident he's right and considers them losers. The men, hearing his boldness, don't hide their indignation and resentment. Nia, a boy with blue hair, challenges his opponents. He assures them that he doesn't need their respect, as he can defeat them again without any extra effort. He smiles confidently, radiating his magical power. His confidence and charisma captivate, and he declares that the outcome of their meeting will remain unchanged no matter the situation. Genesia, noticing the tense atmosphere, reacts with fear, thinking about the boy. Her gaze is filled with determination, and she intuitively understands that something is wrong. Jade, standing next to Genesia, tries to calm her down, explaining that arguments between tournament participants are common. Genesia, however, decides not to ignore what's happening and intervenes. Genesia addresses the group, trying to stop the conflict. She is outraged by the behavior of people who, in her view, are acting unfairly, and resolutely stands up for the child. The young men involved in the conflict react aggressively. One of them threatens to leave, but his friend notices something unusual and advises him to take a closer look. Genesia, maintaining her dignity and composure, has a majestic presence that impresses those around her. Her appearance commands respect, and one of the young men suggests that she is from a noble family. The parties to the conflict, realizing her status, prefer not to engage her and quickly retreat. Genesia perceives this as a small victory, though privately she remains troubled. Genesia notices a boy with unusual blue hair and introduces herself. Her soft tone and genuine interest inspire confidence in the boy, and he opens up in return. Genesia notices details: the boy's hair, eyes, and metal glove. She realizes that this is not just a child, but perhaps a participant in future events. Genesia expresses admiration for the boy, calling him sweet. She is struck by his innocence and character, realizing that there is something more behind that appearance. Genesia asks the boy a question, but he, pouting in a hurt tone, answers with a touch of stubbornness. Her friendliness and determination resonate, laying the groundwork for further acquaintance. Nia asks Genesia to call him a certain way, in response to his help, which leaves her slightly confused. He reveals himself to be a dragon, who has lived for centuries, surprising her with his revelation. His ancient nature piques Genesia's interest. Genesia learns details of his life. They sit on a park bench, enjoying a serene moment, as Nia shares her memories and her story. Nia's memories are filled with disappointment. His magic was used by others. Nia's irritation and distrust cause him to reject requests for help from other mages. Genesia is shocked to learn how dragons were used for magical gain. Her empathy for Nia grows, strengthening their bond. She asks if he should reveal such personal details. Nia replies that his sincerity is based on a magical oath. He explains that his oath compels him to always tell the truth. This trust is inspired by her kindness, and he values their unique bond. Nia notices the magic in her veins, highlighting its uniqueness. She is surprised by his ability, which sparks interest and a little surprise. Genesia asks if he can detect magical artifacts. His answers lead her to ponder his power and capabilities. It ends with their dialogue about magic and friendship, showing how their connections help them both cope with the pain of the past. Nia draws attention emotionally, boldly, offering to help Genesia. This is reinforced by the sincerity of his gesture, as he squeezes her hand, showing his willingness to support her in her time of need. Genesia turns to Nia for help, sharing her situation. A touching connection develops between them, creating a sense of trust and warmth in their interaction. Genesia brings Nia into the hall where his fate is being discussed. She suggests leaving the boy in the Winter Palace, which evokes surprise and conflicting emotions among those gathered. Rupert expresses his doubts about Nia, recalling their previous encounter. This highlights his bias, but also reveals how much Nia has influenced him. Ash, the lead knight, sarcastically mentions their previous battle, noting that the boy left a strong impression. He tries to maintain his composure, but his emotions betray him. Isa recalls Nia's fight with admiration and regret that he didn't witness it. This adds a touch of levity and humor to the tense atmosphere. However, Isaac's gaze falls on a more important figure: His Highness. This heightens the tension and hints at Nia's importance in palace affairs. His Highness emphasizes the joy of Genesia's return, demonstrating respect and concern. This heightens the contrast between the formal tone and the familial warmth in the room. Genesia smiles as she shares a moment of friendship with Nia, recounting how they enjoyed a meal together. It humanizes the situation and adds a touch of warmth. Standing next to Nia, Genesia admires his charm. She emphasizes his good looks, and the boy is embarrassed but proud of his role in this event. Genesia meets Kalyan, and he reproaches her for forgetting about the tournament while getting carried away with entertainment. His tone is stern, and his gaze expresses disappointment, which puts her in an awkward position. Genesia notices that Kalyan looks depressed. She ponders the reasons for his displeasure and wonders why her actions hurt his feelings so deeply. She analyzes her mistakes. She was absent for so long, didn't protect Kalyan, as she promised, and didn't pretend to be his fiancé. All of this violated their contract, which intensifies her feelings of guilt. Genesia sincerely admits her mistakes and promises to never forget their contract again. Her words surprise Kalyan, who clearly wasn't expecting such an answer. Kalyan is confused by Genesia's sincerity. His serious and commanding image crumbles, leaving her surprised and those around him perplexed. Nia, observing the situation, expresses admiration for Kalyan, calling him red-eyed guy. This adds even more absurdity to the situation, leaving Genesia perplexed. Kalyan reacts to Nia's remark with obvious bewilderment, asking if he's the one being referred to. This leads to a lightly comical moment that lightens the mood. Nia suddenly reminds Kalyan of his past, mentioning that he's already experienced death. These words awaken something painful in Kalyan's memory. Nia points to the mysterious object inside Kalyan's heart, emphasizing that it's impossible for a normal person to do so. The tension in the room grows. Kalyan listens warily to Nia's words, realizing his secret has been revealed. His gaze hardens, and the atmosphere around him fills with tension. Kalyan glares at the boy in front of him, clutching his knife, and despite his apparent confidence, he feels confused. His anger is intertwined with hesitation as he faces the unexpected threat. His gaze meets Genesia's, her hands holding magic. Tension rises between them. Kalyan, frozen, recognizes the power emanating from the girl, sparking internal conflict and surprise. Kalyan, having collected his thoughts, turns to Genesia, intending to clarify the situation. His voice and expression convey decisiveness, but his eyes reveal a subtle softness and a desire to understand her motives. Genesia follows Kalyan as he takes her away for a private conversation. His words suggest she has feelings for Nia, and her interest in the boy turns out to be more than just curiosity. Nia smiles as he talks about his abilities, proud of his ability to control magical elements without the aid of special artifacts. His joy and enthusiasm fill the stage, making him the energetic center of attention. Genesia is amazed and delighted by Nia's skills. She asks him if he knows how to combine elements. Her gaze betrays a desire to learn more and help him develop his abilities. She warmly and confidently offers to teach him something new, believing in his talent. At this moment, her gentleness and kindness intensify, emphasizing how important this boy is to her. Later, Genesia shares her thoughts, enjoying conversations about magic. She values finding someone who shares her passion. Her smile and slight excitement convey genuine joy and affection. Kalyan, gazing thoughtfully out the window, reflects on how Genesia experienced the joy of true friendship for the first time in her life. His reflection in the glass reminds him of his recent discovery, and warmth fills his heart. Genesia shares her feelings, explaining that she was alone for a long time. She recalls how painfully she experienced Liesel's betrayal, who only used her, and how meeting Nia brought light into her life. Recognizing the importance of this new stage, Genesia decides to take care of Nia. She plans to instruct the servants to prepare a comfortable room for the boy. Understanding how crucial this is for his adjustment, Kalyan warns Genesia that if Nia starts acting up, she will bear full responsibility for his behavior. His gaze is full of hidden kindness, though his words seem stern. Touched by Kalyan's words, Genesia thanks him sincerely and with a smile. She happily accepts his support, showing how much she appreciates the care he shows Nia's. Genesia, beaming with happiness, tells Kalyan how kind he is. Her face lights up with joy, as if she finds hope and comfort in his actions, which fill her life with new colors. Genesia discusses a task with Nia, challenging him to find a magical object capable of causing an explosion. Their conversation takes place at an elegant table where the boy listens with interest. Genesia explains to Nia how large the stadium is where they'll be searching. She suggests starting with the VIP seats, showing him a map and directing him to the first step. Nia cheerfully reminds him that he's a dragon, assuring him he can handle the task with ease. His playful attitude and confidence add a light-hearted atmosphere to their interaction. Genesia asks Nia about the object he claims is in Kalyan's heart. Her interest underscores the importance of the mystery around which their story revolves. Genesia looks at Kalyan in surprise as a red stone glows in his chest. He's embarrassed, but he attracts everyone's attention. She wonders how dangerous this stone is and why he possessed it. A close-up depicts a heart with a red stone inside, explaining that it was created by a dragon. This heart has the unique ability to restore life and health, making it unique and important. Nia reveals that this stone was created by his good friend Joanna. He knows its origins, revealing that the magic imbued within the stone is connected to dragons and their secrets. The story deepens, revealing that the stone was originally part of a bracelet. Genesia ponders the gravity of the situation, as this magical object was placed directly into Kalian's heart to save his life. It is revealed that Kalian died, but the stone brought him back to life. Genesia is shocked by this discovery, her thoughts filled with worries for him, and attempts to understand what he experienced before they met. Kalian is shown from behind, surrounded by a mysterious red aura. His past is shrouded in darkness, and Genesia tries to imagine what his life was like before they met. His secrets are disturbing. Nia reflects on how dragons are reluctant to part with the things they create. He doubts that Johanna simply gave up the bracelet. These thoughts add mystery to the plot and raise questions about motives. Nia, laughing, suggests that Joanna might have had her own reasons for giving up the bracelet while she was sleeping. His animated tone contrasts with the seriousness of the topic, creating a light-hearted moment in the conversation. Nia mentions that he's lost several of his things. Genesia asks curiously if he's referring to the dolls he mentioned earlier. The conversation becomes more personal and touching. Nia takes out the toys his mother made from his pocket. They are very dear to him, and losing some of them brings him sadness. This moment reveals his vulnerability and underscores his connection to his past. Nia discovers his toy box is empty and concludes they were stolen while he slept. His sadness and anger are evident in his eyes, as these were his most prized possessions. He reflects on how little he knew about people trusting the mages from the tower. His disappointment deepens when the elders decide to keep one of the toys as a reward. Nia decides to retrieve them herself. Genesia, observing Nia, understands how Second Prince Kalian achieved victory in the tournament. Her thoughts are accompanied by a slight note of admiration and curiosity about his methods. She realizes that Kalian used blackmail to achieve his goals. This discovery only heightens her anxiety as he always gets the information he wants. Genesia asks Nia to promise not to tell anyone what she knows and to maintain secrecy. She feels this is necessary for their protection. Nia meets Kalian, one of the princes of Giron, whose power and influence are terrifying. The tower's mages are powerless to resist him, adding to the drama of the situation. Genesia assures Nia that they are ready to offer him protection and guarantee the return of his toys. She smiles, trying to instill confidence in the boy. Nia takes a liking to Genesia, noticing that she's different from everyone else. Initially, he planned to just help her, but now he decides to stay. They make a promise sealed with a handshake. A special bond is forged between them based on trust and mutual support. Nia declares that Genesia is the first person to earn his respect. He vows to help her whenever she asks, with a sincere glint in his eyes. Genesia gratefully accepts Nia's gift, smiling and showing joy. Her violet eyes sparkle, and her appearance is enhanced by the carefully chosen jewelry which she admires. Approaching the majestic doors, she notices a line of guards standing in a row. Their gaze expresses interest and caution, aware that entry into the secure guest room is strictly restricted. She is escorted with the explanation that only members of the royal family and their chosen ones have access to the hall. The remaining nobles, including Genesia, are asked to take seats elsewhere. Nia, observing the situation, notices that the spot chosen is perfect for observing the events at the stadium. He watches intently, expressing thoughtfulness and calculation. Genesia proudly proclaims her status as Prince Kalan's fiancée. Her confidence is evident in her posture and words as she asserts her right to enter the room. One of the guards questions her statement, demanding proof. Genesia maintains her composure, but a slight look of bewilderment at such treatment flashes in her eyes. The situation is diffused by a stranger in a green suit appearing at the door with a smile. His words seem unexpected, and he calls their meeting fateful, clearly recognizing Genesia. Genesia is surprised to recognize the stranger as Lord Visman. Her expression expresses mixed emotions, from surprise to caution, as she considers his appearance and possible intentions. Lord Wisman confirms her status and assures the guards of her right to enter. He does so with elegance and authority, removing any doubt as to her identity. The guards apologize and let Genesia through, bowing humbly. The Lord, with a slight smile, remarks that it was all worth it, demonstrating that his intervention was timely. In the image, Jade, with a slight smirk, tells Janecia to have a good time. His serious gaze and gentle gesture emphasize his hidden concern, while Janecia watches his words warily. Janecia notices Jade's resemblance to Liesel, which displeases her. Despite her elegant attire and stern posture, her eyes reflect the internal conflict that arises from these unpleasant associations. Nia, full of energy, suddenly runs away from Janecia, proclaiming his intentions to explore the area. Janecia tries to stop him, but her voice is lost in the air as the boy disappears from sight. The boy begins to move quickly, confidently, declaring his intention to search for the treasure. His enthusiasm is infectious, but Janecia is concerned about his haste, as such behavior could lead to trouble. Nia suddenly stops, his face twisting in disgust, as a foul odor spreads before him. His intuitive reaction underscores his youth and his lack of preparedness for unexpected situations. Janecia suppresses her surprise when she spots a man with red eyes whose aura radiates danger. His mysterious and menacing appearance makes her wonder who it is. Gathering her strength, Janecia greets the mysterious stranger with pride and dignity. She displays grace and confidence despite hidden doubts and fear. Janecia tries to figure out whether this young man is truly the emperor. Her internal monologue reflects her disbelief as he seems much younger than she remembers. Nia, stunned by what's happening, suppresses her emotions and tries to hide her confusion. Janecia notices his discomfort and tries to deflect attention by remaining composed. The situation escalates, and Janecia, shocked by the turn of events, storms off. She struggles to maintain her composure, realizing the situation is spiraling out of control. Janecia notices Nia's condition and anxiously asks what happened. He kneels and explains that magic is unique to each person, like a soul imprint. The girl looks worried, trying to understand his words. Janecia is surprised by Nia's comparison, but smiles warmly, saying his magic is like the warmth of the sun. This sincerity inspires Nia, and for a moment, he lifts his scowl, feeling supported. Nia tries to elaborate. He describes magic as the soul of each individual, emphasizing that the differences between magics are complex but natural. However, his reasoning seems convoluted, which irritates him. Nia notices a strange interweaving of magic around him, causing him to feel dizzy and nauseous. He realizes these sensations are emanating from multiple types of magic in one place, causing him to feel uneasy. Janecia recalls the moment of their first meeting with His Majesty. She realizes that she too was overcome by fear then. This strange, inexplicable discomfort makes her wonder about the reasons. Hearing the announcement of the imminent start of the competition, Janecia is pulled from her thoughts. Despite a multitude of questions, she decides to focus on the task at hand, directing her gaze toward the arena. Janecia asks if Nia sensed the presence of magical objects in the stadium. Nia answers affirmatively, stating that many participants are using magical artifacts capable of causing powerful explosions. Janecia is amazed by Nia's words. She recalls how difficult it is to create magical items and wonders, how so many participants were able to obtain such powerful artifacts. Nia suspects that most of the items may be fakes. He assures Janecia that the real treasures are hidden beneath layers of false hopes and futile attempts. Nia encourages herself and Janecia, saying that searching for the true magical artifact requires patience and insight. His enthusiasm and determination inspire Janecia with confidence for the challenges ahead. Janecia ponders the power capable of creating magical artifacts and concludes that such might is dangerous. She ponders who might be involved in the recent events. She realizes that Kalyan was the target of the recent attack. His image surrounded by dangerous energy resurfaces in her mind, raising concerns and strengthening her resolve to investigate. Janecia begins to wonder why Kalyan has attracted the attention of her enemies. She suspects there's a deeper reason behind it and resolves to find out at any cost. She shares her concerns with Nia, expressing worry for Kalyan's safety. Her words are full of concern, and it's clear how much she cares for him. Nia suddenly raises the question of Janecia's feelings for Kalyan. His bluntness makes her uneasy, but she avoids answering, trying to cope with the overwhelming emotions. Nia reminds her that caring is an act of love. Genesia tries to explain that her concern extends to all her friends, but deep down, she knows that's not the whole truth. Nia notices Genesia actively searching for a magical item for Kalyan. He begins to doubt whether it's worth her effort, but still sees how important it is to her. Genesia remembers that her relationship with Kalyan is based on a contract. This realization leads to difficult reflection, and she feels an internal struggle. Genesia can barely contain her excitement as she ponders her desire to be closer to Kalyan. Her thoughts are jumbled, and the contract seems like an obstacle to revealing her true feelings. She realizes she can't confess her feelings and is afraid of ruining the relationship. However, deep down, she yearns to be with Kalyan as long as possible, no matter what. Genesia, feeling attached to Kalyan, considers staying by his side even after the contract ends. She sincerely admires his inner kindness, which illuminates her feelings and makes her think about the future. She admires Kalyan, noticing his sincerity and humanity. They hold hands during their walk, and her joy at their time together is clearly reflected in her smile, emphasizing her trust and admiration. Genesia realizes that Kalyan is calm and intelligent. His words and gestures toward her awaken warmth and tenderness in her soul. The moment of their intimacy intensifies her desire to deepen their connection, trusting him completely. Kalyan stands out from the crowd, demonstrating his strength and determination. Genesia is amazed by his unpredictability, which highlights his uniqueness, and earns her even greater respect and admiration for him. Caring for Genesia, Kalyan helps her by asking her to follow his movements. This gesture shows his sincere support, and Genesia feels their emotional connection grow stronger, penetrating her heart. Genesia looks at Kalyan with admiration, remembering his kindness and fairness. For her, he is the embodiment of true nobility, and these thoughts fill her with warmth and confidence in his integrity. Nia, although initially unimpressed by Kalyan, decides to help Genesia. Seeing her genuine concern, he smiles and agrees to share his knowledge of dragon magic. Nia asks Genesia to bow her head. Her trust in him is obvious. She complies without hesitation, watching his actions with genuine interest and anticipation of a miracle. Nia's touch awakens a magical flow. Genesia watches in amazement as bright sparks merge with the surface of the sky, revealing a wondrous spectacle of magical energy. Genesia feels magic filling her with power. She realizes she can now create a powerful protective barrier that will serve as a reliable shield for her future trials. Xavier wins the third round of the tournament. His joy fills the hall, and he raises his sword proudly, accepting the applause of the spectators who greet his victory. Xavier is grateful to the magical pendant for his victory, but inside, he's starting to worry. Thoughts that he might have misused its power gradually cloud his joy. Xavier experiences a terrifying vision. The stranger warns him that the pendant has a limitation and can only be used 10 times. This revelation shocks him. Xavier takes the sword, his gaze filled with determination to find a solution. He believes that Jaya, the master of artifacts, can restore the pendant, restore its power, and remove the limitation. With some trepidation, but with faith in the best, Xavier prepares for the next step. His determination not to let those around him down and to find a way out strengthens his spirit and confidence in his actions. Xavier spots Genesia in the stands and immediately perks up his gaze, sparkling with joy. He calls her name, overwhelmed by her presence. However, the girl sitting in the distance remains calm, her gaze not focused on him. Genesia notices he's addressing her, but she cautiously asks why Xavier has come to this event. His impetuosity goes unanswered, which visibly hurts his feelings and awakens an internal conflict within him. Xavier is confused by Genesia's lack of attention. He feels his feelings are unrequited. He's unhappy about this and torn between jealousy and a desire to attract her attention. Kalyan, watching from the stands, also notices Genesia's presence. He realizes her presence is connected to observing the competition. His calm contrasts with Xavier's impulsiveness. Xavier, consumed by jealousy, decides to take action. He leaps forward and challenges Kalyan to a duel, attracting the attention of the entire hall. His determination leaves everyone frozen in anticipation. Xavier declares that if he defeats Kalyan, Genesia will be his. His face glows with confidence. Though it reveals an unconscious lack of self-confidence, Kalian maintains his composure and replies that Genesia is not something one can win in a duel. His words shock Xavier, but he is ready to accept the challenge. Kalian stands up, displaying majesty and determination. He's determined to teach Xavier a lesson in respect for women, and his actions stir the emotions of the audience. Amid the din of the stands, both princes enter the arena. Their gazes are filled with determination. The hall freezes awaiting a clash that will be not only a test of strength, but also a test of principles. Thus begins a duel that will decide not only Genesia's fate, but also the honor of both princes. Their confrontation becomes a symbol of the tension between emotion and reason. Genesia watches the scene with alarm. Her gaze reflects confusion as she realizes Kalian is about to do something unexpected. Her intuition tells her it will affect everyone's fate. Xavier notices Genesia's gaze and smiles confidently. It seems to him that she can't take her eyes off him, which only strengthens his conviction of his own importance and influence. Kalian is plotting his plan. His goal is to reclaim the past and use Genesia to achieve it. He is determined to make her crown princess, promising to make Xavier his heir in return. Kalian challenges Xavier, informing him that the same task applies to the other princes. His menacing smile makes Xavier wonder if he can handle this challenge. Xavier accepts the challenge, demonstrating ambition. He is confident in his abilities, especially with the magical pendant he received from the Emperor, which he believes gives him an advantage. The fight begins. Kalian remains unfazed and quickly repels Xavier's attack. He manages to demonstrate his superiority, much to Xavier's dismay. Naya, observing the events, shares her observations with Genesia. He draws her attention to Xavier's magical pendant, which is imbued with two powerful spells capable of activating the magical stones beneath the arena. Genesia analyzes the situation, realizing that Xavier's pendant could be the key to Kalian's plan. She recalls that the pendant was personally given to her by the Emperor, which makes it even more mysterious. Xavier, proudly showing off the pendant, claims it was made by the Minister of Magic and is proof of his father's care. This further strengthens his confidence in success. Genesia remains thoughtful, realizing that the outcome of the situation may depend on her actions. A determination to find a way to overcome the challenges she faces appears in her eyes. Xavier, exhausted, notes that his opponent deftly evades all attacks, causing him to grow increasingly anxious and tired. His face reflects tension and despair. Kalian, on the other hand, maintains a cool calm as he analyzes Xavier's vulnerabilities. His gaze hardens, and he decides it's time to end their duel. He suddenly turns his attention to Genesia and notices her looking in Xavier's direction, which arouses jealousy and anger in him. Kalian becomes even more determined. Xavier challenges Kalian, trying to divert his attention. He uses all his strength and fury to force him to focus solely on him. The moment the swords clash reveals the seriousness of the fight. Xavier realizes the odds are stacked against him. If this continues, the situation escalates. With a bitter smile, Xavier asks a provocative question, reminding Kalian that Genesia had been looking at him all this time. This resonates deeply with him. Genesia appears as a vivid memory, reflecting her warm smile and sincere feelings. Xavier is convinced she loved him with all her heart. He thinks she's now upset with him for his indecision. Memories of the time he spent with her fill him with doubt and regret. Xavier recalls hesitating for a long time before proposing to Genesia, which he believes could have turned her off. He believes women are fickle and unforgiving of delays. Kalian concludes that Genesia is using Xavier to make him jealous. His resolve remains undiminished, and he perceives this as utter absurdity, further deepening his hostility toward his rival. Kalian, looking coldly into Xavier's eyes, discerns his true feelings. He confidently declares his knowledge of the prince's dislike for Genesia, causing his adversary to become flustered under the pressure of his gaze. In a gloomy castle, Genesia painfully recalls the past. She is tormented by memories that crash down on her like waves of blood. A reproach rings in her mind. How can one speak of love to someone who killed his own mother? Xavier takes up the sword, its sinister eye gleaming mysteriously on the hilt. His face contorts with a thirst to prove his strength. He's ready to go all the way until his voice makes everyone shudder. But his confidence crumbles. Xavier, covering his face, realizes the horror. His beautiful face is mutilated. Blood drips, and he begins to panic, losing control in the face of pain and humiliation. Fear overwhelms him completely. He falls to his knees, writhing in pain, aware of his vulnerability. Kalian's footsteps draw closer, like a fatal sentence crushing in its inexorability. Xavier begs for them to stop desperately trying to save himself. His hands are shaking, his face is covered in blood, but the fear of death blazes in his eyes. He fears that Kalian will kill him in front of everyone. Looking up, Xavier notices Genesia. Her presence startles him. He realizes she's witnessing everything, including his humiliation. This adds to his already depressed state. Kalian turns to Genesia, his gaze filled with genuine interest. He asks her a question that breaks the silence. Why does her face express anxiety, as if she's hiding her true feelings? Despite her worries, Genesia, at the last moment, turns her power to Xavier's aid. Her hands are illuminated by magic, uniting their destinies, even though she understands the full risk of this choice. Kalian reminds Genesia of her escape. His words sound reproachful, as if he knows her secret, and her violet eyes are full of determination, reflecting her confidence that she made the right choice. As Genesia forges a magical contract, she watches as a subtle magical energy envelops her hands. She is determined, her gaze shining with confidence, even though unknown trials lie before her. Kalian stands in the center of the ritual circle, thinking that their relationship is fictitious and that Xavier's words shouldn't bother him. He tries to hide his emotions behind a stern expression. Suddenly, the magical energy becomes uncontrollable and the ground begins to shake. Genesia loses her balance, screaming Kalian's name in surprise, trying to understand what's happening. Without a second thought, Kalian drops his weapon and rushes toward her. His determination is evident in every movement, and he understands he must act quickly. Genesia realizes that her feelings for Kalian are beginning to change. Her eyes reflect a struggle with herself and a fear of her own emotions. Kalian gently supports Genesia, narrowly escaping disaster. His touch suddenly becomes a comfort to her, awakening new frightening feelings in her heart. A magical explosion shakes everything around, causing Genesia to realize that the earth has absorbed all the magic. She is surprised and alarmed by the force of what has happened. Kalian explains that magic saved them. Genesia looks at him with relief, realizing that despite the threat they pulled through together, the ritual arena is destroyed, its center transformed into a giant crater. Genesia realizes the magical energy was far more powerful than she imagined. Kalian, supporting Genesia, asks if everything is okay. She realizes their contract has evolved into something more, and this leaves her with mixed feelings. Kalian, dressed in a uniform adorned with gold warns Genesia of the need to warn him of dangers. His concern betrays affection, but he tries to conceal his agitation, demanding that she not risk her life for the sake of the treaty. Genesia smiles softly, her voice warm as she admits that even without the treaty, she would always protect him. Her words ring true, and her eyes are filled with determination. Kalian looks at her, overcome with inner turmoil. A week has passed since the explosion at the tournament. Newspapers are abuzz with sensational headlines, but instead of finding the culprit, the court is trying to cover up the truth. Tension in the palace is growing, and the silence is growing louder. Clad in the imperial robe and crown, Kalian looks grim. His gaze is shadowy, torn between duty and conscience, for the emperor's orders demand obedience, yet a struggle rages within him. Genesia gazes with delight at the exquisite bottle shimmering with magical reflections. Her eyes are full of admiration, and her smile radiates desire. For her, this is more than just an object. It is a symbol of rarity and uniqueness. Nia, laughing cheerfully, claims that Genesia touched the vial first. He holds it up as a sign of her right. Beloise watches calmly, her gaze concealing something more than mere interest. Beloise approaches Genesia with genuine enthusiasm, asking a question that confirms her identity. Her beaming gaze and genuine delight emphasize her admiration for the celebrity, causing Genesia a slight embarrassment. Beloise reveals her identity, smilingly introducing herself as Beloise Tarek. Genesia is stunned to learn that the person standing before her is a member of the royal family. She tries her best to hide her surprise and maintain her dignity. With a broad smile, Beloasa declares that she was once His Highness's fiancée. Her cheerfulness and sincerity make her stories easy to relate, but there's a hidden sadness in her tone that makes one reflect on the past. The scene concludes with an emotional atmosphere. Each character reveals their inner world through words and actions, leaving secrets for the plot to unfold. Their interactions form the basis for future events. Beloisa notices a child at the table and, confused and surprised, assumes Genesia already has a son. Her awkwardness deepens when Genesia laughingly admits it was just a joke. Beloisa, continuing the conversation, asks Genesia if she ever felt like her world had been turned upside down. This prompts Genesia to recall the unexpected changes in her life. Genesia reflects on the moment she learned of the second prince and Kalyana's engagement. Her inner turmoil is reflected in the crumpled newspaper pages in her hand. Genesia recalls how her father used her to gain the empress's trust by sending her to the prince with a proposal. That moment remains etched in her memory as a bitter betrayal. A crucial part of the deal was a secret gift, a book containing her father's secrets. This step became the key to the plan's implementation. Rupert, carefully studying the book, expresses confidence that its contents will convince Genesia's father to break off the engagement. Genesia feels supported by his words. Beloise says she hid in Rupert's house, trying to avoid an unwanted encounter. However, circumstances brought them together in an unexpected way. Beloise timidly asks Genesia to give her the love potion. Her request surprises her and makes her wonder about the reason for such an unusual desire. Beloise admits that thoughts about someone are haunting her. Her confusion and dreamy expression betray the intensity of the feelings she's trying to explain. Genesia, observing Beloise, realizes that her own feelings about the situation and those around her are much more complex than she thought. This encounter awakens new reflections in her.